Welcome back to the Bourbon and BS podcast, everyone. This is episode 310, and we are live on Wednesday night. A little late to the party for those that have been waiting for us, but hopefully you guys will tune in and enjoy the show tonight. We've got Mike Dieter back in the garage here, and welcome back, sir.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome, and thank you also for bringing the bottle tonight. It's one that is fairly elusive, very popular on the secondary market. This is the Weller 12-year, and we have not had it on the podcast that I know of. It's been in the garage before, but I don't believe we featured it. Nate, you said you have not had this, so we definitely have not featured it in the last, 4 to 5 years?
Correct.
Yeah, so otherwise that'd be a safe bet that you've had it, and we've had it on the show, but we haven't had it. We're featuring that bottle tonight, so I'm sure a lot of you have had this, and if you haven't, it's tough to find. So we'll talk about that here momentarily. I do want to thank our sponsors, Tinder Box at Easton in Columbus, Ohio. We are smoking the featured cigar tonight. This is the Rocky Patel DBS. That's the Rocky Patel DBS. And we'll be talking about that as we go through part one. That's the featured cigar. The second cigar, thanks to Altadis USA, is going to be the Romeo y Julieta. That's going to be the reserve. And we'll talk a bit about that, just a little bit about that, because it's a classic, in my opinion, from Romeo y Julieta there. So a lot of people haven't had it. It's not one of their more popular ones like the Reserva Real or the 1875, or now, obviously, we have the Connecticut Nicaragua that we've had on the show before. But, yeah, it's going to be a good one here. BS Cigar Company, the gold and silver are available. Gold is made by Plasencia. The silver is made by Espinosa Cigars. And you can find those at Tinder Box at Easton in Columbus, Ohio, or also Royale on the other side of town here in Columbus, Ohio, or also Carfagna's on the north side of town. So there's a few options here in town to find the BS cigars. And if you guys aren't local to Columbus, Ohio, where we're based out of, definitely get a hold of either the podcast or Tinder Box at Easton, and they can get something out to you so you can enjoy the BS Cigar Company. Also want to thank all you guys that are sponsoring us in a sense of sporting our apparel. Nate, you're sporting the Bourbon and BS Barrelhead Black Camo hoodie. I have a Crown Heads hoodie on. Nothing too exciting. Hey, fireworks. But there's a lot of BS Cigar Company and also Bourbon and BS podcast merchandise on there. So buyjack.com/Bourbon and BS if you guys want to sport some of our apparel. Always high quality. We got the soft cotton poly blends, so those are going to be nice and comfortable for you. And you got the hoodies for this time of the year. As we get into spring, we got the 3/4 sleeves, and then we got the t-shirts and ladies V-necks as well on there. So check that out.
Last week we were probably good with t-shirts. This week, hoodie.
Yeah. It's absolutely right. And also want to thank you guys that do the Patreon thing for us. Patreon.com/Bourbon and BS podcast. We appreciate that monthly contribution and the support for us to keep this thing going, and hopefully you guys enjoy it. If you guys want to help buy a bottle or whatever you want to do, or just a one-time $1, $100, whatever, anywhere in between or above, Venmo at Bourbon and BS. We appreciate all that stuff. Like I said, it just kind of helps us keep this going with less and less money out of our pockets. So appreciate that. Without further ado, I'm going to light up this Rocky Patel DBS, and I want to encourage, while I do that and we start talking here, share, like, comment, review, and subscribe in all the formats. And please share the show to people, whether you text it to them, tell them about it. If you want to share it to your social media feeds, join us live, or obviously you can listen to it after the fact on any of the podcast apps, or it'll stay live on, or stay available on YouTube and also Facebook. So without further ado, I'm going to light this up. I'm going to share it to a few pages. Mike, Nate, I was going to ask about your Easter, but I feel like they're not the greatest answers. Are they?
Well,
how was Easter? Is okay?
Well,
no comment. It was okay. Yeah, it's okay. It's Easter. Nate,
different. No,
different.
Mine was fine.
Fine, good.
Yeah,
Man.
I mean,
next subject.
Yeah, a bunch of in-laws came over. My dad came over, and so my dad and I sat out on the back patio, had a couple cigars, beer. I poured them some Whistle Pig 15.
There you go.
And I was like, yeah, I have this other bottle I thought about bringing out, but it's like, yeah, I'll share this bottle with you. And he's like, so how much does a bottle like that go for? And it was a birthday present 4 years ago.
So it was a 15, right?
Yeah, was Big 15. 4 years ago when my mom got it for me for my birthday, it was like $225.
Yeah.
and now it's $300. And he's like, that bottle's $300.
That's retail $300.
That's retail. That's retail.
Oh yeah.
And my dad's like, that bottle's $300 and you're pouring it on me. I'm like, well,
Not on you. I mean,
What?
for you.
yeah. But yeah, so
Weird
like,
Easter the
why
other
not?
way.
You're not gonna. I mean, I know this isn't something you're gonna go out and buy. So
Did he enjoy it?
he did.
Good. That's all that matters, right?
And Saturday at the store, we actually had Angel's Envy rep there, doing bottle engraving.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, so that was pretty cool. Gosh, that was
Was
so.
like the cake is a lie or something like that?
Yes, yeah.
There's got to be a story behind that.
There is a story.
How many people, first, before you tell the story, how many people did not know what the hell that meant? Most, or did more people know what that meant?
So, I mean, I only showed it to a few people.
Well, Facebook.
Well, I'm talking about in the store. In the store. No, there were actually some comments of people that did get it.
I know. I know.
But like in the store, when I got it, I was like, yeah, Jess will laugh her ass off, but you guys probably don't even know what that is. And like, no, I don't. And I show it to Jess, and she just burst out laughing and had to like cover her mouth. So
Two peas in a pod, man. I like it.
Yeah. Sounds like it.
It's perfect.
So yeah, but no, it was a great event. Probably gonna, I think the rep wants to do it again before Father's Day. So keep an eye out or an ear out. Might have a chance if you live in the Columbus, Ohio area to get a bottle of Angel's Envy engraved.
Do you guys publicize things like that, or does it just happen? And then you post it on your
Yeah,
social
you
media?
did say post something before,
I did
didn't you?
post something
Okay.
like when I got to work. I didn't know until like the day before that was even
Okay.
going on. But yeah, I can keep an ear out and try and post.
Got to give people a heads up.
Yeah, I know.
Even like your comment for part 2, about an event, which we'll get to. The hype.
Oh, okay.
You posted like 3 hours ago.
Yeah.
Okay. That's an event. You're looking at me because I'm stupid here.
No,
like,
no,
no, if you're going to post something, you want to let people know before it starts. That's usually how events
yeah.
would go, in my opinion. Like, we wouldn't just do the Smoking 10 event and be like, all right, doors are open at 10:30. Hey, guys, to let you know right now, we got a great deal for you. Come on down. $200, get you some cigars, meet some people.
You two are two peas in a pod too.
That's cute.
Yeah.
It's real cute there,
Very.
Mike. All right. So what are we drinking, Mike? We got,
The Weller 12 here.
yeah. What do we know about this? This is, like, again, this is a very elusive bottle. Huge on the secondary market. We don't need to go down that rabbit hole of the secondary market, but it is
This bunch of BS. is what it is.
annoying. It's definitely annoying, especially when it comes to stuff like this. This is basically currency, in my opinion, anymore. This bottle is not opened and enjoyed as much as it should be, in my opinion.
Agreed.
Nate, what do we know about this? Weller obviously is part of the Buffalo Trace and Sazerac family.
Yes. So yeah, this is the Weller lineup. So all the Weller products are weeded bourbons. They don't disclose. Buffalo Trace doesn't disclose the mash bill on really any of their stuff.
Huh.
It's speculated that it's about 70% corn, 16 wheat, and then 14% malt barley.
Okay.
So the core Weller products, you have the green label Special Reserve, you have your red label Antique, black label 12-year, blue label Full Proof that we still have the empty for up there, the white label CYPB, and the orange label Single Barrel.
That you have.
This is the second least expensive one on that list. And it's the only one, it's the only one that actually has an age statement on it. It's 12-year, all the other stuff, typically not that much age on it. This one's 90 proof. Obviously, like Antique is 107, and then a lot of the other stuff, a lot of their stuff they do around that 90 range.
Full proof's on 114 usually. Yeah,
What's the single barrel?
I think Single Barrel's at 90.
I believe
Huh.
so.
Okay.
Yeah. So they are cutting it a little bit. So, something like this with this much age on it, cutting it, I think the the oak really stands out on it.
I would agree with that.
Because back in January, our bar at work got some bottles that were lottery bottles, and they were the Pappy, the 10, 12, 15, and 20, which is the exact same juice as this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's the exact same mash bill, same barrels. It's just the Van Winkle brothers, they get first pick of the Weller barrels. So they pick the best barrels to be Pappy products. Anything they don't pick, either it becomes Weller or something else. So it's the exact same mash bill. But yeah, I got to try the 10, 12, 15, and 20, and the proofs kind of go up and down with those four.
Yeah.
So it starts out like 107 proof, then 90.4, and then back up to 107, and then back down to 90.4.
Mm-hmm.
So some of the older ones, especially that 20 or that oak, really stands out on the 20.
Yeah, you would think so, right?
Yeah. So I think something like this, I think some of the other underlying flavors might stick out a little bit more if this was higher proof. I think 90 proof, the oak kind of shines too much.
Yeah, it's like a sweetness though too. It's like a sweeter oak.
Yeah.
Together. I don't think there's sweet oak out there, but it is a sweeter flavor, which I think possibly be coming from the weeded mash bill, right?
Yes. So weeded mash bills typically provide a softer characteristic.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting. So it's like good.
But they also get like a bread note to it sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Definitely getting the oakiness. It's going to be very woody, the sweetness, hint of vanilla, I think a little bit. But overall, it's kind of a maybe because I took a couple puffs of the DBS before this, but it's kind of like not a quick finish, but it kind of stays a little bit more on the tongue. But like back here, back in the back of your mouth and near the throat, it's kind of evaporates real quick.
Yeah.
It's like it's clean. Yeah. But I still have a little bit of that sweetness on my tongue still. I don't know about you guys.
And I think that's going to be attributed to the proof. If it was higher proof, it'd be a little bit more oily. And so that oil and, it would be a little thicker. And so it'd kind of hang around a little bit longer. But yeah, on the finish of it, there's almost a little bit of a, like an unflavored bubble gum.
Unflavored bubble gum?
Like, first of all, have you chewed unflavored bubble gum? Are you talking about like bubble gum that lost its flavor?
Yeah.
Like Fruit Stripes. No, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or like the gum.
No, unflavored bubble gum.
If you could
Where do you find unflavored bubble gum?
Well, so when I was a kid,
you really have a story about this.
When I was a kid, there was a store at the mall that was it was like a kids science store. I forget the name of it, but it was great. And like you could buy lab experiments to do at home. And like one of them was make your own bubble gum.
And you just chewed it without doing it?
No, I sat there and I went.
You make the gum.
Yes.
But you didn't flavor it.
It didn't come with any flavorings. It was just gum. Yeah, so you made chewing gum.
You should have put some flavor in that.
Well,
did you chew that often?
It's been a while.
But it's funny to say this, but the flavor of unflavored chewing gum is what you got the notes, which I get. Like the ingredients of chewing gum obviously would have some sort of flavor, but you're saying it's not like cherry, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I was about to say that. I'm just like,
was it even enjoyable?
Yeah.
The experiment or the gum?
I mean, the experiment sounds cool. But
it does sound kind of cool.
I mean, I made ice cream when I was like in 6th grade and it was a science class, but it was vanilla. At least it had flavor.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just can't imagine like getting excited about chewing gum that has no flavor.
No, I mean, that's why the stuff in like the baseball cards was such bullshit.
See, so yeah, a lot of the chewing gum that you got in those baseball, there wasn't a whole lot of flavor to that.
That wasn't much. There wasn't much chewing to that either.
Yeah, it just snapped.
You bite on it, just like starts disintegrating. You're like, I think I ate one of the cards. Fuck. Oh, can't hear Mike too well. Well, let's see if the mic's even on.
Oh no, it's on.
Is it on? Okay. All right. Just want to make sure
Don't worry,
people can hear you.
I'll get closer.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah. coming in hot there. So I don't get the unflavored bear, chewing gum.
I don't get that either.
I don't have experience with that. That is actually
That's a very, very specific
yeah,
characteristic.
it's good. It's good. Is so I'm not making fun of this. Is it like bland? Like is that the flavor? Like you say the finish is because you said it's like the finish has that unflavored, right?
No.
The unflavored.
So
No, but I'm saying like is that like a mustiness? Like is it like a bland note? Is that a negative? Do you think, or is that just kind
No,
of
it's
no?
to,
It's
to
an
me,
observation.
to me, it's not a negative.
Okay,
to me,
it's
it's
an
not negative.
observation. Okay, that's
I mean, if someone sat there and go, "Hey, here's a stick of bubble gum," there's no flavor to it. I'm like, that.
what kind of sociopath are you? Is what you'd say.
Well,
Right.
I can't answer that question on the podcast.
No, not you.
Okay. But anyway,
Aimed towards the hypothetical situation, but you probably are that hypothetical person, aren't you? You want some gum? Yeah, sure. I'd love some. What? This doesn't taste like anything. No, it doesn't. Does
Like,
it?
what's it supposed to taste like? Nothing.
but I mean,
Your feelings.
without any of the flavoring like that, it still has a flavor to it.
I know. I get it. It's good. That's like Mike said, very specific.
Apparently, if you like unflavored gum, give it a try.
James Allen Young says Fruit Stripes was good for like 10 seconds.
Yeah.
Such a disappointment because it came in real strong and then just was
Gone.
gone.
Mhm.
Gone.
Like candy was like longer lasting.
That's why you're supposed to chew big league. Was it big league chew?
Big League Chew, yeah.
Like that's where you're
Yeah.
supposed to chew as a kid.
Well, like when
Do they still make that?
They
Yes.
do.
See, it's funny that they can make that, but like they don't make candy cigarettes anymore. It's the same
You
thing.
can still get them.
Can
you just
you?
have to order them. And they have the candy
From
cigars
Mexico
too.
or something?
No, just on Amazon
Oh.
probably.
Candy cigarettes. Big League Chew is obviously
You can go to Five Below. They have it all over the place.
really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
Not that I go to Five Below frequently, but when I do, I always see it.
It's fine. Fine if you do. Maybe it's a weekly stop for you. That's cool. I'm actually kind of torn on this one on the bottle. I like it, but it's I've had it before, but I haven't had it in a while. And
Well, and here's the thing that's so typically in the state of Ohio in the past, this has been a lottery bottle. So every December, the state would do a lottery for all the high-end Buffalo Trace stuff, all the Wellers, the William LaRue Weller, all
Mhm.
the Pappy, Tom's H. Handy, the Sazerac 18, Eagle Rare 17 and 20, like all that stuff. And that's just to win the right to buy it. Last December, they actually did something a little bit different where this was one of 7 different bottles that went out and had a special Thursday release where the email went out to people that subscribed to OHLQ emails at 3:00 in the afternoon. So that way there weren't people, waiting all day. Email went out at 3. Well, someone jumped the gun, went out at like 2:45. And then those bottles were available for purchase at 6:00.
I remember that.
And this was one of them. This one, the Full Proof, and then some other brands. And we had like 4 cases of this, I think. We had 90 some bottles total. But we had like 4 12-pack cases of this. It was the last one left.
this one,
Yes, everyone else was taking Full Proof.
Did you have Dallimore in there too, or not Dallimore? Stag. Yeah,
Stag was one of them.
Yeah.
Yep. But yeah, this was the last one to go, and it was the cheapest one there. So I said it earlier, like this is the second least expensive.
what's the MSRP?
$42.99.
See, I think that is interesting.
Yeah, like the Full Proof that's up there. That
Yeah.
high. That's a lottery bottle. That's $1 cheaper than antique.
Yeah. But I think, depending on what bottle you get of that, it's fantastic. I've had
Good.
great Full Proofs.
Good luck finding them though.
No, I know. Very difficult to find. Any of it is, but it's $42.99. That actually makes sense.
$42.99, and yet like 4 years ago when Steve and I were in Louisville, this was at a store for $400.
So that's what for $400. This is like no, absolutely hard no on this bottle. Just hard pass.
Hard.
For under $50, okay, now we're talking.
Yeah. I mean, and as like the more whiskeys that I've tried, like, the more like I've come to realize that
No,
Sure.
absolutely not.
that's like a lot of this stuff when you start getting past 10 years in a barrel, you start getting just too much oak on the palate. And so it kind of like what is it? Knob Creek 12 and then the 18 and then like the Russell's 13. When I had those Pappies, like
Your whistle pig the same way?
Different
no.
with the rye.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's
okay. Yeah.
Rye. No, not as much
Typically.
not as much oak on that as you would expect.
So
But like when
cinnamon on there, I don't get it. I mean,
but like
maybe
when
a hint.
I get a little bit.
Just a hint.
but like when I drank the
Stale. So,
Pappy 20, like it was at 90 proof, it was like drinking toothpicks. It was just nothing but oak.
yeah.
That's
yeah.
all that was there. So you have a lot of those people out there that, hunt for stuff that has, 10 plus years on it. It's like, okay, if you like it, go for it. But, you pay, obviously you pay for that. General rule of thumb that you see in a lot of whiskeys, outside of Scotch, anything in Scotch that's more than like 12 years, the pricing is ridiculous. But with a lot of bourbons, general rule of thumb that you see is like $8 to $10 per year.
Okay. Nate, what do you think of this? I mean, like we can get to the ratings later, but I mean, first time having this?
About what I expected. I wouldn't expect to be blown away. I was
Okay.
expecting that softer mouthfeel because of the wheat. Like it's kind of like, and this would make sense. It's like Special Reserve
Mhm.
with a lot more oak.
I would agree with that.
That's what this
I would
is.
agree with that.
It's the Special Oak or Special Reserve mash. It's the exact same mash bill. It's that flavor, but then a lot more oak thrown in because 12-year age statement. Whereas Special Reserve, I think, is probably somewhere in the 5 to 8 year range.
That's a fair. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But I think you have to think of it in terms like that. Like, okay, what am I really going to expect out of this bottle? Okay, it's Weller. It's wheated. That's going to have a certain type of mouthfeel. It's 90 proof. Okay, so don't start thinking it's going to be, some foolproof or barrel proof type of product.
Yeah.
At 90, so Special Reserve, 12 years. Okay, well, what does 12 years in an oak barrel do? You taste a lot of oak. So, I mean, if you break it down, like that kind of should set your expectations. I don't think you should go into trying something and be like, oh man, this is a 15-year bourbon. This is going to have so much caramel and so much spice. And then you taste it and you're like, that's a lot of wood.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, think about what it is. And I think some people, when they drink things that are high age statements, they set their expectations incorrectly
Well,
and too
yeah.
high.
Yeah.
It's like, well,
What they hope to get out of it, you mean?
yeah. Like I mean, there are people that said, like I said, secondary on this is $300 to $400.
Yeah,
Like
I get.
there are people that are. I mean, this is not a $300 bottle.
No,
Well,
no.
none of that shit is. Pappy's
I mean-
not 3,000 now.
Yeah.
This is not worth. You said when I go back home to Chicago, there's there's 3 stores within probably 3 to 4 mile radius of my mom's house,
Mhm.
and all 3 of them, one was selling it for $350, one was for $400, and the other one was also for $350. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. No.
And you said it's 40.
42.
$42.99 in Ohio.
That's almost 10x.
Yeah.
The cost.
Yeah.
No, that's stupid.
It's
Well,
silly.
it's-
It's like I said,
it's
it's more like
stupid.
currency at this point
Yeah.
for most people. But again, if you can get it for a reasonable price, it's not. I mean, if you like Weller Special Reserve, you want a little bit more character to it, in my opinion. You have to go up the proof 107. I think. I still like 107.
You like 107?
Well, especially if you can get it for $50,
Yes.
which is
$55.99 now.
sure.
Yeah.
But call it 50.
So I would
Yeah.
choose this over Antique's too hot for me.
Is it? See, I like it.
That's just my opinion.
What do you guys think of the cigar?
I don't know.
I'm torn.
You haven't even lit it up yet. He was after that.
I'm like done. I'm like done with
You
mine.
wanted to.
That's
fine.
I hadn't had the whiskey before, so I wanted to drink the whiskey. Like,
light it up, man. Light it up.
Steve, tell us about this cigar.
All right, so DBS double broadleaf selection. I believe the S stands for selection there. Here comes Tony Tones out here, hopefully not knocking over anything. Hey, buddy. Yeah, so double broadleaf selection, right? So broadleaf is a real popular type of tobacco that is being used these days. A lot of times for the wrapper leaf, right? So that's usually what it is. Connecticut broadleaf is the big one. Now you're expanding into other regions of the U.S. along with Nicaragua and Honduras also is doing that. Like the Camacho broadleaf is a Honduran broadleaf wrapper. You just lit this up, Nate. Mike, you've been smoking it. Any idea like what you think the blend might be?
Well, so with the initial flavor that I'm getting on this and the way it interacts with my palate, I'm guessing there's good amount of Honduran tobacco in this one.
Okay. Mike?
I can definitely taste the broadleaf for sure. Definitely right off the get-go. I haven't smoked enough Honduran to be able to identify what the Hondurans like, but this is definitely different than my standard Nicaraguan that I typically tend to go to.
It's also got a little bit like San Andreas type flavor and texture to it.
Yeah, I'd agree with that too.
So the wrapper is surprisingly a San Andreas wrapper.
Ooh, okay.
So there's that. You got that part, which I feel like, again, being broadleaf, and I wasn't trying to set you up, I was kind of describing it, but like a lot of times broadleaf it's used as a binder sometimes, but a lot of times when you see broadleaf used, it is in the, or for the wrapper leaf.
Yeah.
So it was surprising to me smoking this. I smoked it before I knew what the profile or the blend was, and I was surprised. So It's San Andreas Mexican wrapper. The binder, it's a double binder. And that's Nicaraguan and then a USA broadleaf binder.
Okay.
Broadleaf from Pennsylvania.
Yes.
Ooh, okay.
So that's where you're going to get a different flavor. Then the filler has some Honduran and then also broadleaf from Nicaragua in the filler.
Oh, okay.
So that's where the double broadleaf comes in.
So I said Honduran and San Andreas and nailed both of them.
You got part of it, yeah.
There's some other stuff thrown in there too, but yeah.
Yeah. So it was interesting smoking this. I like this for the sense that Rocky and his team came out with something I feel fairly unique.
Yeah.
You know, this day and age, everyone wants something new. Everyone wants like, this, I want to be blown away by something or at least something different. I think that's what they did here. They got a lot of age on it. It's not necessarily disclosed that I know of, but I know talking with the rep that this has quite a bit of age on most of the tobacco in here. I don't know the years on it.
Well, and then doesn't Rocky age everything 2 years after it's
Not
made?
everything.
Not everything? Okay.
The one that he really kind of publicized that was the 60. Excuse me.
Yeah, I knew that one did, but I thought that some of the other stuff he does too.
The white label I know has more age after it's rolled. So he started coming out, I think, really with the Rocky Patel 60 for his 60th birthday, which when he was at the 10 event recently, he said that when he was asked kind of what his most special blend to him was, and he 60 for his 60th birthday, I think is what he is currently, in a sense, most proud of. Not going to speak for him, but that's kind of the way he made it sound.
It's a great stick.
It's a fantastic cigar.
Oh, it's amazing.
So coming out with that, and then the white label around that same time, they were starting to punch at a higher price point.
Yeah.
This came out, and I will say just absolutely as expected from Rocky Patel is that you have beautiful band and artwork and just really high class look to it. Double banded. You also have a foot band on there that says Rocky Patel, but you guys, the RP and the orange and black. And then below that, a very similar type of artwork from the primary band, which says DBS in the same colors there. And you even have, what's that, the Griffin there, right? On the sides there. So just I think just really beautiful on the artwork here. And a very hearty Mexican wrapper leaf.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on the flavors? What do you guys think of this cigar? Now that you're smoking, Nate.
Come on.
Anyone?
Oh, you want?
I sat there and
Kristen,
said,
what do you
Mike,
think
you
of
go
this
first.
cigar? What do you think of this?
I went
smoking
first
the
I'm trying to like nail it
I
down.
went first on the whiskey, so I was like, come on.
All right.
Talk amongst yourselves while they think.
At least for me, I'm really kind of torn with this one.
I was curious because you smoke a lot of San Andreas wrapper,
I do.
kind of fuller bodied stuff.
I do.
This has some Nicaraguan tobacco. I think you're partial to
Like
Nicaraguan and San Andreas.
though, I will give it credit. Like the flavor profile is very unique.
Mhm.
Like it's like a combination. Like it's got the very almost like woodsy type like earthiness to it, but it's also almost like the back end's kind of like real strong cocoa.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
You getting that too?
This is you.
Oh, I'm just asking.
Trying to make conversation.
I know.
Man. Come on.
I did notice the final third is where I get a lot more spice.
And you are ahead of us by far. I'm about to the second. We're smoking the Robusto, by the way.
Yeah. I do like the final third. So when I first started, right off the get-go, the flavor was fantastic. Then I feel like it kind of died out the second half, but the final third has really come back tenfold.
Builds
And,
nicely.
yeah, it comes back that final third real good. And
Good.
I can't quite pinpoint like what I'm getting.
All right, Nate, go ahead. You're freezing them out here a little bit.
No, it's fine. So right off the light, like I said, because when I did my initial, what I thought, I mean, I was an eighth of an inch into the cigar. Like I just lit up and taken a couple puffs. But it has, you know, I said Honduran because to me, when I smoke a Honduran tobacco, it's got this very dry taste to it. Kind of dries the palate out a little bit. And that hit me the first few puffs. And that's what made me think that it was Honduran. And then I also said San Andreas because there's this kind of rustic, rough earthiness to the flavor as well, to the smoke texture. And that's what made me call San Andreas on.
Okay.
Like I think when people hear broadleaf, like a lot of them will think Connecticut broadleaf, like grown in, which usually has this really nice chocolate and creamy texture to it. Whereas that same leaf grown elsewhere, so like in San Andreas or Pennsylvania, is more earthy of a flavor profile, a little bit drier as well. And then on the retrohale, I don't get a whole lot of spice on the retrohale, which actually kind of surprising.
Wait till you get to the final third.
Okay.
The first 2/3, I got nothing, but the final third is when it really kicked in.
For me, I think, like I said, it's unique.
Yeah, it's definitely unique.
Here's my thing going into it, and I don't know how you guys are about Rocky Patel cigars. So you're doing the like kind of.
I'm like half in, half out. So when I first started smoking Rocky Patels, I had nothing but terrible experiences. But as time's gone along, I experimented with more of the line. There's a handful that I will say that I really do enjoy.
Yeah. So
like my particular go-to is obviously the 60, which is a fantastic cigar.
Right.
Vintage 92 is another staple of mine. I think it's a Florida San Andreas is probably the next one that I thoroughly enjoy from them.
I don't know that one.
Well, he did one that was just called the San Andreas, I think.
The Orange Band?
No, it's got like a.
It's online?
No, you can't get it online, but you can get it in some shops. Some shops carry it.
Okay, I haven't seen that one. I guess my point is that with like Rocky Patel, he kind of hit that stride where he's evolved over the last 20 plus years, in my opinion, as far as what he puts out. And a lot of it originally, I think, was more Honduran blends, or that's what he was known for. And got so popular so fast that it was kind of like what we were talking about before the podcast, where I think that was kind of part of that we were talking about where it's like, oh, Rocky Patel's, yeah, no, I like those. Those are fine, but they're like everyday cigars. Like I like, more boutique stuff, even though it's funny because when we were at the Smoking 10 event for Tinder Box, and Rocky was up there with Eric Espinosa, Ricky Rodriguez, and Tom Lazuka, they all kind of said that, he was the one that really branched out and did the boutique thing on a major level, as small as it was at first, but he grew it out where he put his name on it, first and last name, mind you, which isn't always the case. And he really kind of started venturing out. And like I said, more recently with the Tabacusa factory, he's been able to do more things with Honduran tobacco, or I'm sorry, with Nicaraguan tobacco, and produce stuff there, grow more stuff there, buy more tobacco. Now he's branching out. If you look at some of the ones like the 60 with the San Andreas wrapper over Nicaraguan tobacco, you have like the Rocky Patel Sun-Grown Maduro that was before that. That was a great cigar, I think, that had a Connecticut broadleaf over Nicaraguan tobacco. He started putting out these kind of heavy hitters, in my opinion, as far as strength and body, that wasn't as much the case before that. He did have some. I mean, like back in the day, the Patel brothers, which was the winter blend at one point, some real rich stuff that just, I feel like he was more well known for. His like number one seller to my knowledge is the 1999 Connecticut. And so that's something that it's just very light and mild, kind of like real popular that way. But with this one, for me, I think I get a lot of what you guys are talking about. I think it's going to be, it's got that, like you said, woodsy, a little bit of, like you said, rustic, or like kind of like, I think it's kind of the same. I wouldn't say like that musty thing we were talking about recently.
No, not musty, but
no.
Like there, when I say rustic, like there's a like a roughness to the texture of the smoke.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of, but with that, I also get it's interesting because you get that kind of bitter espresso.
Yeah.
In my opinion, I get a bit of that. Almost like one of those bitter espressos, or like a bitter nice black coffee that also has like hints of like a kind of fruit or floral note to it. I don't know if you guys are getting that on your palate or not.
You know
it's
what?
like not, it's not as much like the cocoa for me or the chocolate. It's more like this like bitter, but with a little bit of a floral or fruit. I don't know what fruit, but I guess maybe like floral type of a sweetness and lightness that surprises me with this cigar, that it has that light kind of characteristics for me, along with the fuller bodied stuff.
100%. I when you said the coffee or the espresso, so like a lot of times I like to drink like Americanos, and I will say like I've been trying like, and I'm glad you said, because I'm trying to pinpoint like I know this flavor, but like where am I like when I drink like that aftertaste? So like if you drink an Americano, like that aftertaste that resonates in your mouth, it's the same thing and it lingers for a while.
Yeah. And I think that's what I'm getting from this a little bit.
That's 100%.
If you're like a espresso drinker, or I think you might like this. And I think with Rocky Patel, I really respect and enjoy Rocky Patel himself, and I think some of the cigar brand, it's something that has gone through. If people that hadn't smoked Rocky Patel because they didn't like it or whatever else, it's like, we always ask like, what cigar did you have? And they're like, oh, I don't remember, but I just didn't care for it, so I don't really like Rocky Patel cigars. And you're like, well, he's got like a very large portfolio.
Well,
very large portfolio, and it's growing.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the issues that consumers had with Rocky Patel cigars years ago, and more so years ago, was it seemed like he was coming out with a new cigar every month.
Oh, well, yeah, like at a trade show, it's like everyone has like maybe 1 or 2 blends. He has like 6 or 8.
Yeah. Like, it's, and I remember one time Miguel went down to his factory, and this is going back, I think 15 years or so. Miguel went down there, and Rocky was working on a new cigar, and it was called the Fusion. And so Miguel was asking him about that particular cigar, and he's like, well, it's a kind of a cross between this cigar and that cigar. And he's like, well, what's the difference between those 2 cigars? The wrapper. It's like, so they're almost the same cigar, and now you're making another cigar that's a combination of the 2. Like, so isn't that just 3 cigars that are the same essentially? Like, so, but that was the thing. Like he just kept, it was you kind of ride that high of new product because you have those people out there. It's like, oh, this brand, whether it be someone like Weller, someone like Rocky Patel, like, well, we saw it like with Buffalo Trace with the Traveler. New product comes out, people go nuts for it.
Yeah.
Seen it for the last month with that Crown Blackberry. Get more calls and more people asking for that than anything allocated for the last 2 months.
Yeah,
it's the new thing. So you get that hit in sales when you come out with a new product. So it seemed like he was coming out with something all the time and just riding that high of that new, people like, oh, it's the newest thing from Rocky. Yeah. And I think in more recent years, he's come out with fewer new cigars, but better cigars.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right
like
there.
The ALR, the 60.
The Disciple. That's a newer-ish, isn't it?
It's 3 years ago, yeah. 2.
But
the newest one's Dark Star.
That was actually a good cigar.
Yeah.
That was good.
Yeah. Well, are you getting, like, I know you have a point.
So I think, when did this come out?
This came out in 23.
Okay.
Last year sometime.
So what I was like,
I want to say this was actually last year's trade show in the summer, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. So my point was, like, early on in the Rocky Patel era, go back 10, 15 years, like, everyone was looking for the new thing, but they weren't always that different. There wasn't a lot of complexity necessarily to them. It was just the next thing from Rocky, and it almost felt like he was almost saturating the market on his own, and almost cannibalizing his own brand. I think in the more recent years, instead of trying to come out with a new cigar every quarter, he's like, I'm just going to make, 2 new blends this year, but I'm going to make them better. I think
it could be. Because you see,
I think his more recent stuff is better than stuff from 15 years ago. Some of it is a higher price point, but I think the complexity and the flavor on his stuff is a lot better now with some of these newer blends and newer releases that he's done than in the past.
I would agree with that. I think that, it's a business, right? So I understand both sides of it. I think he's gotten to the point in his career and with the company, and again, not to speak for Rocky himself, it's putting out blends like this, putting out the white label, putting out the 60, and also putting out some everyday stuff like the Dark Star and the Disciple in the last couple of years. He's got his staples. He's got the vintage series that we were talking about, the 90, the 92, the 99, the
Edge.
The Edge series was what I was going to do next. Was the Edge series is still available there. You've got some of like the more staple ones like the Rocky Patel Sun-Grown, the Sun-Grown Maduro. There's things that are like in the portfolio. The Decade, the 15, I think the 55 is still out there.
See, I haven't seen like the 15, the 20, the 50. I haven't seen those hardly anywhere nowadays.
I've seen them.
I see the Decade.
Decade's
often.
Yeah,
I see that around
and really.
Yeah.
That got that, I think, the 95 rating originally, however many years ago that was, and it's still a steady seller for them. With the DBS coming in, I think the biggest thing that it shows that the biggest thing that I think that shows that Rocky is trying to evolve the brand to compete with some of the Davidoff or the Cohibas in a sense, but within his own brand. That's what's so tough about it, right? Is the price point. The white label came out and it was over $20 a cigar, and they called it the white label. Well, Davidoff was considered the white label for a long time, just in jargon. It wasn't called the white label like the Signature, the Grand Cru, or any of those things. It was just, do you have any of the Davidoff white labels? So what does Rocky do? He comes out and he says, no, this is the Rocky Patel white label. Like it says it right on their white label.
Yeah. Great box. The box was amazing.
Gorgeous.
Yeah.
60 was gorgeous.
Yes.
This is gorgeous. I think so. This DBS is coming in at that same price point of like right at $20.
Really?
Yes.
For the DBS?
Yes. The cigar you're smoking is a $20 cigar.
Interesting.
So I think that in turn also for those that think of Rocky Patel cigars as your $10 to $13 cigars, now all of a sudden, no, you got a, and that's what was so crazy for me looking at it when he came out with like the white label. It's like you got the Edge Connecticut, which was called the Edge Light before, but before that you had your bestseller, the Vintage 99. You've got basically like now, I'm not going to go back to when it came out, but now you got an $8 or so cigar on the Edge. You've got like an $11 to $13 cigar in the 99 vintage that he's killing it. Now you're going to come out with another more age on the wrapper and the tobacco's in it, but it's another mild cigar that you're now charging $20 plus. I thought he was kind of nuts when I saw that, because I'm thinking, all right, you're going to sell this at your burn lounges, and that's about it. Because why would anyone that's a Rocky Patel smoker
pay $20,
pay almost double for a mild cigar? From what I understand, that cigar is doing very well.
Good.
The white label.
Oh, okay.
The white label. The DBS is picking up more steam. I think the uniqueness, but getting someone, when you've got an established brand that doesn't touch that price point, and then you come out with your, like, in the last 2 years, some just punching, like, all right, we're going heavyweight now, baby.
Yeah, we're going $16, $20 a stick now.
Let's go.
Yeah.
These guys are charging, $20 to $40 a cigar. I can do that.
Well, like,
I'll justify it somehow.
I think something like the ALR and the 60.
The ALR is great. The version 2, which is the current one. Yeah.
Like those two cigars, pushing that $15 to $20 price point. They're rich, they're robust, they're complex, they're absolutely fantastic cigars. And then when the white label came out, I'm like, $20 for a Connecticut, like something super mild. Like,
but now you're sounding like the bourbon guys, where you're just like 90 proof.
Well,
that's it. No, I mean, that's because I do. There's a lot of cigar smokers like that. Like Ray Cheshire, if he's still listening, he smoked when I put on Tasty Tuesday the Olmec from Foundation, the Claro. And I was describing that. He commented on that, and he was like, "Yeah, it didn't have much like balls to it."
Yeah,
and it was like, well, it's not supposed to.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? I think that one's more medium, but I get where you're going with it. Go ahead.
No, I mean, that's like a lot of times when you see a lot of other cigars on the market that are pushing that $20 price point, a lot of them tend to be like some bigger, heavier, bolder cigars, like some of the, like the Ligas and stuff like that, like, and his 60, the ALR. But then
I know, but
like,
what is the white label going after that I just said?
Davidoff. Which
do they have a cigar like less
they don't
than 20 anymore?
Not with the Davidoff name.
That's my point. So it's like if someone else is doing it and made their whole brand off of this, like the best known Monte Cristos before recently are mild cigars. They call the Monte Cristo, again, white
label,
white series.
Yeah.
But I mean, before Tinder Box was carrying Davidoff, before they did that, and people would come in, I mean, for years, they're like, "Hey, the white label stuff?" And like, Brian, the owner, would be like, "Yeah, I've got the Monte Cristo white series right over here," and like we would sell it all day long, and it still sells all day long.
Oh yeah.
But again, they call it medium. I'd say it's still going to be mild to medium. It's a little more complex. But I get what you're saying with that, is that that's what I was kind of comparing it to, like the bourbon thing where we're at. It's like there was a time where it's like the double Ajero, from the floor, and like these like nicotine drips that you're like trying to put out there. That was like the target of the audience at that point, because the mild to medium market has been done. So how are you going to compete with, hey, I'm going to put out a cigar brand. What do I got? Like it's a mild Dominican blend. You're like, oh, okay, cool. Like, no, I already have those.
Yeah.
So I get that. So this is kind of, I think, going full circle when you go back to the white label. But with the DBS, he's coming back, like you said, with the 60. This cigar, I think, it's either going to do extremely well for Rocky Patel, in my opinion, because it is unique, and yet I think it's full flavored. Again, I think, like I described it with the espresso and the bitter and stuff like that, not for everyone. But it's either going to attract some customers that go for what you're talking about, Nate, like with the fuller experiences and everything, or it's going to fall flat in the next year or two, because people are like, yeah, it's good, but it's $20, and I don't think it's worth $20. But then it's like you go to, I'm not comparing the two, but You mentioned like Liga Privada series from Drew Estate. What do those cost now?
$20.
There you go.
$20 plus.
There you go.
But I think kind of like with what you initially brought up with the white label and the vintage 99, I think, you know, it might be something like that. You know, people that like Rocky will get this, and then when they, you know, they're like, you know what, it's $20. I don't want to feel like spending $20 on a cigar. Let me get the sun-grown Maduro.
Yeah, they could. They could. I mean, but again, I mean, you see that all day long. I mean, there's plenty of cigars out there that are average price. There's plenty of cigars out there that are below average price.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
agreed.
it's, you know, we talk about the price game a lot. I mean, Ray just listening live says $15 to $20 doesn't sound so bad. I mean, well, he's also in Vietnam, where I think he's buying a lot of Cuban prices. I don't know what the non-Cuban cigars are selling for out there for him, but I would assume it's higher. But yeah, the price game you can talk about from a lot of different angles. I think you're going to find that you could probably talk yourself in circles or with the price game, because that goes, I think, with anything, as long as you're enjoying it. I mean, if you have a very high price cigar and it's just no one likes it, then you're screwed. If you have a cheap cigar that no one likes it, you're pretty much screwed, except for the people who are like, oh, I like smoking because it's cheap. But there's also, like I said, you can talk in circles. There's also people that smoke cigars because they're expensive, and they're smoking the band.
Mm-hmm.
You know, basically, that's, you're smoking the label at that point. I don't know. You like the Cohiba Connecticut, Nate, if I'm not mistaken.
I like it, yeah.
But I mean, the fact that it's $20 to $25, you don't like that.
I typically don't buy it.
but
however, I mean, the Cohiba Royale, I mean, that's put, you know, 28 to 32, somewhere in that price point.
Yeah.
I'll buy that one.
It's more up your alley.
Love the flavor profile.
Really?
The Royale is my favorite cigar from Cohiba.
Mm-hmm.
I love that blend. It's not the strongest one they make. I think the black is stronger.
I love that one.
But the Royale, not as strong as the black, but it's more complex in the flavor.
Really?
There's different things going on. It changes up on you. It's not just a one hit, you know, flavor profile like to me the black comes across as. So there's more complexity with the Royale, even though it's a little bit pricier than the black. I'll buy the Royale over the black or anything from the black. I'll buy the Royale before I buy the blue.
I think the blue is a fine medium. We're going off track here a little bit.
Have you tried the Riviera?
We featured that on the podcast.
That's right, you did.
Do you know what the blend is for the black? Just general.
I don't.
The Cohiba Black's one of my staples.
It's Connecticut broadleaf over Dominican filler and binder.
You made it seem like you didn't know the answer, but you did.
No, I'm saying like it's surprising when because I don't think it's as strong. I think it's a bold flavor, but I don't think it's a strong cigar.
Huh.
A lot of people do.
I've smoked one, so
I mean, I just don't. I almost compare it to like a Fuente Maduro.
Oh, okay.
A little richer though.
Yeah.
Little richer, but I think, you know, like your Chateau, your series there with the broadleaf over that.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's more in line of like an Añejo
Okay.
from Fuente.
All right.
Okay.
Not putting the ideas in anyone's head, but I think that's kind of where I'm at with it. But yeah, I mean, this cigar, I think for me, and we can go in the ratings, I like what Rocky Patel is doing. Because I'm a little bit like you, Nate, and I think Mike, is I do enjoy a milder cigar here and there, but I do tend to gravitate towards this if I'm going to be spending the money kind of above my normal spending habits, no matter what it is. I do compare it to the whiskey world. Is like, if I'm going to drop, say, $100 on a bottle, which is not extraordinary anymore, but if I want to drop $100 on a bottle, it's not going to be probably a lighter 80 proof whiskey. I want some depth there. I want something that I like. I got plenty of other stuff I can drink that's going to be a lighter whiskey for 50 or under. So if I'm going to drop a little bit extraordinary for my budget on a bottle for my bar, and you're going into three figures at that point for retail, mind you, not talking about secondary,
Right.
but retail. I want to be smoking or drinking something where it's,
You want to be blown away.
Sure, we all, yes, I want to be blown away, but more accurately for me, I want to be, I want some complexity. I want something there. I don't want to just be like, for a higher price tag than what I normally spend. I don't want to just be like, yeah, I mean, it's fine. It was fun. I mean, I killed half a bottle. It's so easy drinking. And you're like, that's not really one. Same thing with cigars. Like, how was it? That's fine. This one, it's like, if you really objectively, now again, if you're just smoking to smoke a cigar, you're just hanging out or whatever, $20 on DBS from Rocky Patel, maybe not your cup of tea. But I mean, this is a cigar that I think is more of a thinker. Like I get a lot.
You have to pay attention to the cigar.
To it.
You have to pay.
Yeah.
And
This is one of those things.
$20, almost double the average price for a cigar right now.
Yeah.
I think that's what you should be doing when you're going above. You should do that with everything. But like when you actually are putting a few more bucks out there, I think, take your time.
Don't smoke this on the golf course. Smoke it after the golf course.
Yeah. Nightcap cigar.
Yeah. Like sit down and actually pay attention to what's going on with the cigar and what you actually taste out of it. Same thing like you would do with $100 bottle of whiskey. You're not just going to sit there and, be doing a bunch of shit and just knocking back sips of it. It's like, no, I want to sit down and actually focus on this bottle.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, let's rate these things.
Let's go.
Let's do it. Let me put up.
Go for it, Mike.
Oh, I go first.
You're the
guy.
guest.
You like challenging Mike here tonight. I like it.
Yeah, I like it too.
Speaking of which, I think I need a little bit more in my glass. Mike, you need at least a little bit. I know you're not going too heavy, but you can't cheers with an empty glass.
I don't have the tolerance like you champs do.
All right. No one likes when you judge them.
I'm gonna start with the whiskey.
Start with the whiskey. The Weller.
So before I brought this here, I did try a little bit myself.
Yeah.
This time around, I gotta say, out of the entire Weller line that I've tried, because I've done Special Reserve, Full Proof, 12-year, and Antique. Out of those four, this takes third place out of all four. I actually prefer the Full Proof and the Special Reserve over the 12-year.
And the Antiques last for you.
Yeah, Antiques. I mean, Antiques got some good flavor, but it's too hot.
Yeah. For
what I enjoy. For the whiskey by itself, I'm gonna give it 7.5.
Okay.
It does have some flavor complexity to it. I do kind of like the almost like the caramel essence to it. Nate, you are right. It's very, very oaky. It's very, very oaky. So if you like oak, this is for you, but I'm going to give it 7.5.
Got it.
The cigar, I'm kind of torn. On one hand, I typically like to go for the stronger Maduros. It's about a middle of the road for me. The first third was pretty solid when it comes to the flavor. The second third really dulled out for me. And then the final third, it came back with that spice that I typically like to tend to go toward. You are right. There is a lot of complexity to the flavors. I'm going to give the cigar a 7.5 too. But the pairing, I'm going to give it 8.5. That's what I'm going to do, because particularly going from whiskey. Yeah, that's what if you notice, like I kept going back and forth with that. That's one of the reasons why I smoked it so fast. I kept trying to feel like
a fast smoker though.
I am a fast smoker to begin with, but going from whiskey to cigar really complemented those flavor notes in that cigar. So if I was to go to a store, now first off, do I think the DBS is worth $20? No. I do not think it's worth $20. Even in a Gordo size or a bigger size, I don't think it's worth 20. But if I was to do it, I'd probably pay it if I had a really good pairing bourbon to go with it.
Okay.
Just because going from bourbon to cigar, the flavors just pour out for me so much more. Now going from cigar to whiskey, I got like nothing from it. So pairing 8.5. I'm going to give 7.5 for both the cigar and the whiskey, but I'm going to give a pairing 8.5. I think they complemented each other decently well.
Interesting. There's some comments here too about we're talking about price and everything, and Ray was asking about Davidoff, but I think it kind of pushes the again. So I'm paying. He says, so I'm paying for the aging process and the skill level of the roller. Yeah, you are. I mean, again, that's with whiskeys and anything like the age. I mean, there's a cost to it, right? To warehouse any of this stuff, including tobacco. You figure if you're the skill level, just like anything, you would think that if you have a higher skilled person producing your product, you're paying them more.
Yeah.
Or what's the point of them putting that experience in there and the extra training and everything else? So, I mean, yes, in essence, you are paying for that, at least to some aspect, like to some extent, you're going to be paying for that.
Like, how often do you have someone come into the store and be like, "Oh yeah, I had a construction issue on a Davidoff." Like I can't think. Honestly, I can't think of anything. I mean, Tinder Box has been carrying Davidoff now for 6 years, and
something like that.
And yeah, because you guys brought them in right before I started working. So that, been there 6 years, and I've never had someone come into the store going, "Yeah, I had a plug on the Davidoff, or it burned real funny, or it was blowing up on me." Never had that happen. Never heard that happen. But now again, that's just one retailer, but Davidoff does control how many stores in an area can carry their stuff. So
yeah, how many? 2-ish.
Yeah.
I was just told the other day from the local shops, it's only one shop within a 5-mile radius is allowed to have it at a time. At least that's what it is in Indiana.
Well, like, I mean, we're the only one really in Columbus, because
Chevetta.
La Chevetta does now.
They are now a full Davidoff retailer.
Wow. Okay.
As of this week.
Yeah.
They've got the full display. They're the only full display retailer in the Columbus greater area.
Okay. I know when I was a cigar rep, like all of St. Louis, there were 2 Davidoff retailers.
There's usually, that's what I've heard, is 2 in a major area.
A decade ago.
No, but that's what I've heard as well. There should like usually about 2. Now, I know that where you're at, Indianapolis, there's I think more.
There's definitely. I mean, they're decently spread out.
Yeah.
So it's weird. It's weird the whole, because I was told
they're very selective. Also, I mean,
yes, they are.
I mean, you have to basically, like what La Civetta here in Columbus did. You have to bring in. It's a large amount of facings. I mean, including the Davidoff line. There are other brands like Avo, Camacho, Griffin. Like you do have to carry but the Davidoff brand itself, it's a big ask.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, you have to carry their display humidor, basically, whether it be a humidor, but like theirs is really for a walk-in humidor. It's a huge thing. So yeah. Right. Back on this.
My ratings,
please.
So the whiskey by itself, I'm going to give the whiskey a 7. I think the 12 years isn't a problem for me. It's the combination of 12 years and 90 proof, because it just makes that oak stand out too much. You don't get a whole, I mean, yes, there are other flavors going on there, but the oak flavor is kind of dominating the whole thing. It's like the same thing I said about the Pappy 20 year. It's the exact same thing. It's 8 years older than this. It's the exact same mash bill. It's 90.4 proof. It just tastes like toothpicks. This one I think this one actually has more complexity and more flavor than Pappy 20 year. I'd rather drink this over Pappy 20 year. If you can get this at retail, in that $43-$50 range, I think it's a good bottle for that price point. This is not worth $100-$400 anywhere in that range. I don't think.
No.
There's just I think it's one of those things where they've Buffalo Trace has built their whole thing just on, like, some of it is limited availability, but there's just this hype around so much of their stuff, and you can't ever find it. And then it's like, why is this a secondary bottle that's $400? I don't get it.
This makes no. Okay, did I tell you the story about why some of the So I got told that out of one of those 3 stores
Yeah.
that were by my mom's house. So when I went in the final store and I was kind of like disappointed, I'm like, why is this 300? Like, this is ridiculous. It's $350. And so the owner was on the phone, and because the guy working behind the counter got the owner on the phone, the owner's like wanted to talk to me. He tried to explain to me the reason as to why it is if like it'll make me justify spending the money, which it didn't. But I guess what the problem is at least what he told me was they made him purchase $10,000 worth of other products to get 1 case
Yeah. So
of Weller 12 year. I'm like, first off, like,
That-
why would you do that in the
that's
first one?
being-
Why is it worth getting that?
So
That's being rectified.
That's stupid.
so yeah, so that was actually an issue with the previous distribution company.
Yeah.
Buffalo Trace parted ways with them in December of 22.
And sued him if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. So basically the distributor at that time was doing a kind of a pay to play.
Yeah.
Like stores in uncontrolled state. And I remember hearing this from other customers. Stores in states that were not state regulated like Ohio is, or state controlled. They're like, yeah, you want to be able to sell, any of the Pappy stuff, you got to sell a shit ton of Fireball.
Yep.
Like you got to bring
Or
on
the vodka, the
Yeah.
whatever they were like trying to sell.
Yeah, you got to
Wasn't
bring
just Sazerac.
exactly. You got to bring on a bunch of their other stuff in order to get, a case of something like this. In Ohio, OHLQ, they have their own agreement with either the distributor or the distillery. Like, all right, this is how many cases of this we're going to buy. Like, and then, they get some of that other stuff as well, but the state pays for all of that. And then, and then we buy it. But the good thing is, we're buying it at retail and not $400.
What do you think of the cigar?
Cigar, I give 7.5 on the cigar. Had some burn issues with mine that got rectified. Like I said, it's got that dryness from the Honduran. It also got this rusticness from that San Andreas, and I called that early on. I don't get as much richness as I would expect when you sit there and tell me, "Oh, this is a double broadleaf."
Mm-hmm.
Like I was expecting something a little fuller and a little richer, but I think that Honduran and the San Andreas kind of are what is bringing that down a little bit.
Well, remember too, it's a Pennsylvania broadleaf binder.
Yeah, there
And
is
Nicaraguan
and
broadleaf.
Pennsylvania tobacco tastes very different. When I have smoked cigars, I have Pennsylvania tobacco in it. It's definitely a unique flavor profile. Now the pairing, I give the pairing an 8. I think these go better together, but unlike Mike, I think this goes better going cigar to whiskey, because when I do that, I start getting like more caramel notes out of this whiskey that were not there before.
The funny thing is, the last time I was on here, we had the opposites for the last pairing too. It was a polar opposite. We're complete opposites with it.
That's what we do.
That's what you do. I wish I had the special reserve out here to try. This Weller 12, I'll give it a 7. I like the antique 107, and I'm not going to compare their line as much, but I mean, this does remind me. It's a little oakier, like what Nate was saying. It's real similar to the special reserve, in my opinion, which Nate knows, and some of you guys out there know, not usually my go-to, even for the price. If you can get it for $30, whatever. It's just not really my thing. It's almost got a tanginess to it that I don't really care for. The sweetness kind of goes a little bit too far, like into tang. It's not like it's not enjoyable at all. I mean, I do. It's fine. I mean, again, Weller 12. It's smooth. It's easy drinking and all that stuff. But if it's 50 or less, I think that's an appropriate price point for what you're getting. 12 years on something. Again, I appreciate aging something in your warehouse or your rick house for 12 years absolutely respect to that. It's kind of like with one of their other products, you know, different mash bill, but you know, the Eagle Rare, which I absolutely love. 10 years on that. Some people dog that. I haven't seen Eagle Rare in the wild other than going out west, but around here, Midwest,
5 years.
Can't find it anywhere. And that doesn't bring a price tag anywhere close to this. Weller, I think the Weller
$41.
But the secondary is like 100 or whatever.
Yeah.
So I mean, the Weller, there's something going on in the secondary market using this as currency that even a special reserve is going for $150 when it's a $30 bottle. This is $42 and it's going for $400. People are out of their goddamn minds.
Yeah.
This is fucking stupid. Because I mean, I look at I'm drinking this stuff and I'm like, man, you're drinking the price tag at that point. Like it's just, it's not bad. It's just like there's nothing.
You're drinking that,
and
that right there is what you're drinking.
And I love it too because you know Sazerac and Buffalo Trace,
texture.
It's nice. It's nice branding. It's very simple. It's very simplistic. This is still a screw top. I don't know if the current ones are screw tops.
This is current one.
That's current screw top.
So foolproof is a cork.
Antique is
a cork.
Special reserve is not.
Special reserve.
It's no longer a cork.
Special reserve's a screw top. This is a screw top. I have single barrel at home.
That's a cork.
I don't remember. I haven't.
What is?
Single barrel, the orange label.
I think the single barrel and both the CYPB are both cork.
Okay.
I think Mike's right on that. Anyway, like so, I to this a 7, and that's a given the $40 price point, $50 price point.
Yeah.
Cigar for me, I'm 8.5. I like this cigar. I think again, I've talked about it in tonight's show so far. Is that it's unique. It's got a lot of for me. I think it is more complex. The price point on it. You gotta experience it. You gotta talk. This is a cigar that has to be sold to you because it's so funny. We talk about this and going into some of the stuff we're talking about with the bottle, and people were talking about with Sean Anderson was asking about, you know, one of the tougher ones to cover or carry, you know, and stuff like that. And Jonathan was out here in the audience. He was saying, you know, it's Davidoff, Fuente, and Padron. We're talking about prices here, and you know, Padron can command with the 1964, 1926 series, $20 all day, and no one bats an eye.
Mm-hmm.
Rocky Patel throws a $20 price tag on it, and everyone loses their goddamn minds. It's like, what the fuck is happening right now?
Okay, yeah.
So it's like when you look at things, yes, can you find something less than $20, which I think this price point is holding some people back on trying the cigar. And I'm not advocating for this cigar or anything like that, but it's open it up to the whole market and see what else you're buying for $20. There are some that you're probably going to like more or whatever your price, your profile is, but come on, like $20, everyone's like losing their goddamn minds over it. And it's like, we sell Padrones left and right all day long. We sell Davidoffs left and right all day long. We sell Cohivas all the time. Monte Cristos are approaching $20 on most.
Yeah, 16, $18. The 1935s for 21 now.
I mean, I don't think that you can really look at the price point as a major issue.
Why do you think people have an issue with price point with something like Rocky Patel? Is it because he built his brand?
He's never done it.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
He has never done it. So I think that's the biggest problem.
Okay.
But it is whatever. And see, Aaron Garner, who you work with, friend of the show, $20 is too much for that Rocky, in my opinion. So yeah, I mean, that price point, I think, holds people back.
Yeah.
The pairing, go ahead.
To that point, something like the Rocky 60, that's $17, $20. I'll pay that. For that cigar, I'll pay that.
It's an area draw. What does that smoke like?
If it was an area draw and it had one less leaf in it, it would smoke like a Padron.
It's an area draw and it's box press. I think it does smoke like a Padron, which is why I think people that smoke Padrones can wrap their heads around it. The pairing for me, 7.5. I mean, the whiskey is holding it back for me. Again, this has that aftertaste, and I think maybe even the bolder cigar, in my opinion, is bringing it back down to that special reserve type of a bottle. And again, people love the special reserve. People love this. I'm not against this, and maybe I know I've enjoyed this bottle before, like when Jonathan Herring brought it to the garage. I enjoyed it, but I think maybe this pairing. What I say? 7,
7.5,
7.5, 7.5. It's the whiskey, and I was worried about that. I think I told you.
You were
Mike,
worried that this cigar was going to overpower the
and
whiskey.
I think it has. This I can tell the whiskey. It still has a lot of flavor, but I just don't think it's meshing well. I don't think this was not intentionally doing this, but I wanted to feature the DBS. Nate hadn't smoked DBS. Mike hadn't smoked DBS. So I'm like, let's do it because we have it available. So let's go, and that's why I chose that. So
well,
and Tinder Box Easton currently has some of the DBS, and I had seen it, and it looks like a heavier cigar. So
yeah.
I like you voiced your concern to me, and I agreed with it. Like, okay, I'm worried this. I do think the cigar is definitely a lot stronger than the whiskey, but like I said, like for me, just there was something interesting about it where it brought out more sweetness from the whiskey that I didn't taste on its own.
Yeah,
I was not expecting that.
You guys both like that. I didn't like it as much.
Okay.
The pairing. Yeah.
Oh,
so
okay.
I was in contrast to you guys.
Okay.
With that being said, you guys are looks like lighting the part 2 cigar. Let's cheers here. You got a little whiskey in your glass. Cheers to part 1 here, guys. Happy Whiskey Wednesday. Stay tuned. We're going to talk about some other stuff in part 2 here, and I appreciate the conversation going in the comments. Please stay tuned. We'll stay live on the feed here, but cheers, guys. Stay tuned for part 2. I think you're going to make it.
Honestly, I tried.
I just go. Like, don't.
Honestly, I got to a point like I couldn't. I had to take a week, man. I had to go.
Good. Thought you were gonna come out and be like, I gotta go, guys. Not to throw you out there, but I mean, you gotta go, man.
Yeah.
The bathroom?
Whatever, yeah, sure. When you gotta go, you gotta go. Yeah. We can keep drinking this bottle. Do you have a backup bottle? You want to grab something else up here?
I didn't bring anything.
I was gonna say, the only thing I think of is you said you had the Eagle Rare.
Yeah, I want you to try that, but we don't have to bring it out right now.
I'm not gonna lie, I kind of don't even want to finish.
I mean, we have those bottles.
This is like the one time I'm genuinely disappointed about.
I see, and I get that.
Like, part of me wants to just like pour it back, but you don't do that. It's just, I don't really want to.
You have to man up and do it. Have you had the Heaven Hill, just the 7-year?
No, but they have that at Costco by me.
Yeah, I'll bring that over here. I'll have to kill that. You have backup? You just brought that.
I didn't bring anything.
All good. We got plenty, bro.
Although it would have been interesting if I had brought that one, because that one's also a 12-year.
Oh yeah.
But
I'll do that next week. Whatever.
I don't know how much more I'm gonna have in general because I'm
yeah.
What?
Feeling it
a little bit.
Okay.
Enough to where I should probably
All right.
So has this been live the whole time?
Yeah, we're still live.
We're still live.
Still out there.
Oops.
What?
I don't know. Oh man, come on.
Another plugged?
Dude, 2 in a row. It happens though, dude.
It does. It does. I am pulling up some of the comments what I posted earlier. Go to the community page.
Yeah, my buddy is watching. He's like 7.5 is a low score for a $20 smoke.
It is.
Well, I mean, but sometimes when we do our ratings,
I mean, somebody might love it.
Well, sometimes the ratings do factor in the price.
I would say, like, I would agree.
Yeah, I mean, I've had times, especially where I've sat there and said, well, this bottle, this bottle's a $20 bottle. And it tastes really good. I'll give it an 8. If this was a $40 bottle, I'd give it a 6. Like, I've been that kind of guy before.
Man, you have
now if
come
this
a long way too.
I have.
I will say if this was like a $12 cigar, all day long. The DBS all day long.
Yeah,
I would say that'd be
were you inside when I was saying about people losing their minds about like Padron? Like this, when Padron puts out a cigar for $20 all day long, we sell them.
Yeah.
But when Rocky Patel does it, people lose their minds.
Lose their minds. Yeah.
Yeah, it's fucking.
I'm gonna get in trouble for saying this. I don't think Padrones are worth the money. I think they're fantastic. I don't think they're worth
It's a lot of people that
$25,
disagree with you.
$30+ dollars a cigar.
Yeah.
A lot of people disagree with you.
I mean, that's fine.
No, I know. I'm saying from a sales standpoint, a lot of people disagree with you.
If I'm gonna spend,
Not
if
saying
I'm,
people in this
I
garage.
think there are great alternative options.
if I'm gonna spend $20 or more, the only cigars that I can think of that I can justify is the Alma Fuerte by Plasencia
Okay.
and the Faro by Liga Privada.
Okay.
Those are the only two that I would say, like, if I really wanted to spend that much, those are the two I'm getting.
Padron I compare to, and we'll get into part 2. Padron I compare to if you're buying a 1-2 ounce pour of something at a bar and you're going for flavor.
You know what?
What happened?
I'm gonna grab my jacket really quick.
Yeah, sure.
It's getting cold in here.
But I compare it to like a 1 or 2 ounce pour or something that you're paying a higher price tag for, not the Weller or the Sazerac stuff. I'm comparing it to a Padron. I like the flavor of like a nice 1964 Maduro.
Yeah.
26 as well. But even like that Principe where it's commanding like almost like a $15 price tag for basically a 20-minute smoke.
Mm-hmm.
You're smoking it for the flavor.
Yeah.
You're gonna get an easy draw. It's a Padron, but it's like if you're like, oh, it didn't last very long. It's like not supposed to.
Well, and
you're buying the flavor.
Yeah.
Of the tobacco.
That's one of the reasons why at Carfagna's. So we had carried Padrones before I started working there, and we had to get them from a wholesaler. I was getting them from Tinder Box.
Yeah.
Afterwards, but because I'm paying wholesale price through Tinder Box, like that Exclusivo, it's it runs $6 higher than what you guys are charging at Tinder Box.
Sure.
So I'm sitting there going, what cigars are out there that I think are same flavor profile but less expensive?
Mm-hmm.
And I brought them in. I brought in a natural and a Maduro so that way when I get rid of Padron, which I did, all right, people that come in looking for Padron, here you go. Here's what you can smoke. It's less expensive than if I had Padron. I think it burns better, lasts longer, got similar flavor profile. It's like, here you go.
Let's not dog Padron too much. Love to have him on the show sometime.
I mean, yeah, there are good smokes. They're great. I kind of knew last year when Aficionado was doing their top 10 countdown.
Yeah.
They're sitting there doing the top 10. They release a few cigars a day. Well, after they had released 2 through 10, none of 2 through 10 was a Padron.
Here we go.
I was like, oh, Padron's always in the top 5. Number 1's going to be Padron.
Congratulations.
And sure enough.
Congratulations.
All right.
You gonna make it?
Yeah.
All right. Sorry, I don't have a heater going on here.
I don't have overalls, and now I understand why Nate bundles up so much.
I'll turn my jacket on.
Thanks.
I mean, I'm getting a little chilly.
Pop that heater on, man.
I mean, you want me to hit the heater before we start?
No, we're good.
No, we're good. We're good. We're good, dude.
Michael live.
I got some hand warmers. We're good.
I got
For all you watching, it is cold.
I got a bald head. I got a t-shirt and a hoodie, jeans, and some Hey Dudes on.
I feel like you have a really good poker face, though. Like, you're probably really cold, but
Not real cold. I think I put on a few more LBs that's keep me warm, which I'm not happy about necessarily, but
yeah.
starting to go back down the other way, which is I'm happy about. Wish I would have started that like a month earlier because I'm heading to the beach here in 3 weeks. So, but I'm going with Kristen, so I don't really need to impress anyone. So, other than her, I'm good.
And yourself?
Yeah, I mean, more importantly, her at this point, But
No, get it.
all right, here we go. Jonathan Aaron says it's a little chilly there, 67. Go fuck yourself.
That's all.
It was like it was in the 60s yesterday, wasn't it?
Yeah, we're in the roller coaster of March and April.
We went from like warm, really nice weather to horrible storms and hail to dropping. What it hailed again today. And now we're supposed to
snow.
get snow.
Talk about it. I was pissed, first of all, because I pulled my car into the Easton garage because they were talking about the apocalypse. And then Kristen brings her car into this garage. Nothing happens where we're at. Luckily, I mean, I'm not saying like better safe than sorry. But then I'm parked out in the drive or the parking lot. And all of a sudden, I think you were there already, weren't you? Or no?
What?
At the shop?
The rainbow?
No, that was yesterday. No, that was cool. No, but then all of a sudden, light hail starts happening. I'm like, are you kidding me right now?
Oh, yeah, that was today. Yeah.
Jesus. Everyone's like, it's not that bad. I was like, my car had over $6,000 worth of damage from the last hailstorm this year. So I'm out there looking at it. And I'm like, I'm sure there's little stuff out there because once they do the integrity is a little less when they do the paintless dent removal, especially on the hood. I'm like, it doesn't take much. Anyways,
all right.
Thanks, God. Welcome back to the Bourbon and BS podcast, everyone. This is episode 310, and we are in part 2 Beyond BS. And we are still joined by Mike Dieter with a few more layers on. It's getting chillier out here. We're just talking about the weather roller coaster that we have in the Midwest, elsewhere in the country, but some wicked fronts have been coming through this area of the country and the world. And it is now, it was 42. It says 40 on my watch.
Don't feel like it.
Goes with the sun's down. So, but this is the part where we kind of go over some different stuff, what you guys want to talk about. Mike, you brought a little bit of a topic starter here, and I've got a couple other ones here on the feed. But if you guys have anything while you're listening live, put it on the comment feed, and then Nate and I will try to catch them the best we can and post them up here on here for you guys and talk about it with you all. Tim Dodge, 76 here today, down to 64. I mean, no one likes a bragger, so you guys don't have to give us your local forecast, but good for you. Happy for you.
Go fuck yourself.
We want to thank our sponsors again, Tinder Box at Easton in Columbus, Ohio. Check them out. We were smoking the Rocky Patel DBS in the first part. Now we're smoking thanks to Altadis USA, also available at Tinder Box at Easton, the Romeo Julieta, the Reserve. This is a nice medium-bodied cigar. I'll pull up the blend here in just a moment, but this is a sleeper from Romeo Julieta, in my opinion.
Yeah, agreed.
This is one that has not had as much attention from them. I don't know how it sells for them, but I will say this is one that, from a retail standpoint, doesn't sell as well because it's not mild like a Reserva Real. It doesn't have the same profile as their 1875, which is one of their best sellers. And this is
smooth.
It's a good cigar.
I'm not a medium bodied guy.
Dude, that's a good cigar.
You chose good.
Of the entire Romeo portfolio that I've had, like, I think this one's one of the better ones.
But you don't smoke it very often, do you?
How often do we have it?
Well, that's true. We had it in the Rothschild.
Yes, we had
Tubo.
it. We had it in the Tubo. But no, I mean, Reserve Real's nice. I like the Connecticut Nicaragua.
Yeah.
Mild, medium, nice little spice to it, creaminess, good smoke. But yeah, I mean, there's not a whole lot of the Romeo portfolio that, like, this is a great one because I think this goes really well with whiskey.
Yeah.
Really well.
So this has a
rate the pairing.
hang on.
No.
This
that was last part.
this got a Nicaraguan Habano wrapper.
Yeah.
Let's see if this says it here. Nicaraguan binder and the Nicaraguan Honduran filler. So just not what you expect from the brand name Romeo y Julieta, in my opinion. So if you guys haven't smoked the Reserve, definitely check it out. Also want to thank BS Cigar Company. The gold is made by Placencia and the silver is made by Espinosa. Check them out. If you guys want some swag from us, buyjack.com/bourbon and BS. Really happy with the quality of the swag that we put out with buyjack.com. They do great work. We get some great brands that they print on direct for you. Digital printing looks great and lasts for a very, very long time. And also patreon.com/bourbon and BS podcast for the monthly contributions, set up at $5, $10, and $25 tiers. If you guys want to do a one-time contribution, as small or as large as you'd like, Venmo at bourbon and BS. And we appreciate all that stuff. But the real thing is share, like, comment, review, and subscribe on all formats that you enjoy listening to the show. Tell your friends, tell your family, and make sure that you guys just share the show. We really appreciate that. And join us live every week, Wednesdays, 7:30 to 8 o'clock starts. Typically 7:45 to 8 o'clock starts. Usually some setup and Tony action going on here, all that good stuff. So appreciate you guys tuning in. Tonight we're going to start off with what Mike had. I put it as, what can we do about it? And I'm going to read, if you don't mind, the text that you sent me there, Mike.
Yeah.
So say yeah, or
He sounds real sure.
Yeah.
he said, and we've kind of done conversations like this, but I mean, his topic idea was, what are we going to do about it? And he said, a positive twist into how we handle problems and situations that we all face every day. He says he feels like the last time was more of a sad topic. I think it was a more serious topic. But
Yeah,
more
kind of.
sad.
It was kind of more of on the depressing side. But
So he said, I figured we could do a topic that typically gets handled in negative ways, but give it a positive spin. So
yeah,
that's kind of where we're at with this. What can we do about it? So, Mike, what did you have in mind, I guess, when you were thinking about this?
I mean, I guess it's just like recently too, with some of the people who I associate with, and between the work and personal, friends, family, it's I constantly hear a lot of complaining, whining, nagging, blaming for life circumstances, for situations people are in, tough situations that people are in. And I mean, at the end of the day, there's no better way to say, like, okay, what are you going to do about it?
Yeah.
I feel like in today's society, it's very easy to just act like a victim, or, blame everyone else for your life's problems, or just sulk in the shit of your circumstances that you're in. But at the end of the day, it's, you got to have it within you to shift that mindset, is to just learn to deal with it and figure out, what are you going to do about it? Does that make sense?
No, it makes sense. I mean,
And I kind of figure from there, like, if anyone wants to pepper in like comments, like situations and things like that, we can give like feedback and stuff like that. And like once upon a time, again, I know I've talked about this in the past. Like once upon a time, I was the kind of person that always had excuses and wanted to blame everyone else and act like a victim. Like once upon a time, that was me, and that quickly changed as time went along. And we all got life, so we all get issues, we all got problems, and it's like, what are you going to do about it? There's been a handful of situations where, which one do I want to, which one should I, because I'm not going to drop names because I don't want to do that.
you can talk bigger picture right here.
Like bigger picture, it's, what's that?
No, Johnson says, I don't hang with those folks. And he does a hashtag that I don't understand. RWTW.
I mean,
explain that, Jonathan. I don't know what that hashtag means. I'm not
yeah, I'm curious. What is
young and hip like you.
Yeah, I'm curious what this RWTW. I have no
But I
idea.
agree with what he's saying, is that you don't hang with those folks.
No.
I mean, if it's always going to be an issue, right? If it's just this negative woe is me kind of mentality, it's always going to be, tomorrow is it's not like, hey, tomorrow's another day. It's tomorrow's another day. So, you know what I mean? Like, just try to do that with inflection there. It's like, oh man, like, yeah, no, it is another day. Like, you're not looking forward to another? Like, come on, man. Like, what can I do?
I used to.
And you do it to a point where, with Jonathan saying, I don't hang with those folks, is at a certain point you're just like, come back to me when, like, like, figure your shit out. But I've tried to help you. I've tried to roll with the winners, he says.
Roll with the winners.
Don't hang with those who bring you down, is what he says.
And I think I want to bring this up. There's a difference between, how do I put this? There's a difference between people who bring you down versus people that genuinely just don't know, like, how to handle things and are looking for, advice. Like, that's one of the things, like, one of my rules is, if I'm dealing with someone who has like issues or problems, right? In my mind, it's not okay to just complain just for the sake of complaining. But if you're stressed out or you're frustrated because you generally in your mind don't know what to do and you're seeking out a solution, if you're talking about a solution, like, that's different. But surround yourself with just people that just want to act like, oh, poor me, like my life sucks because of X, Y, and Z, and I'm stuck here. Like, no, you're not. It's up to you to decide, like, what are you going to do about it? Like, what can you do? Like, control the controllables and accept and deal with the uncontrollables as best as you can and move forward. Like, accept it and move on.
Yeah, I mean, it's sometimes you embrace too hard the issue. You embrace too hard the problem, right?
Yeah.
That's those things start becoming your identity. You know, you have a job you don't like. I mean, I've been there, right? Or, you know, I had a job that just I didn't. My previous career, it was like I just got to the point several times during the decade or so I worked for that company. It was just like I got in these ruts, and it was like I was bored. I didn't really like the direction of maybe not necessarily the company, but like what my boss was telling me at the time. I didn't really, and it got to that point where I was waiting for 5 o'clock to come around. You know, it wasn't necessarily a 9 to 5 job. I mean, it was like a 7 to 5, 6 ish, 7, like whatever it was. And like I would look forward to be like, all right, I got here at 7. It's 11. I could probably get out of here and grab lunch right now. Like I was just like getting that point where it's.
Well, let me ask you, like, why'd you hang out as long as you did?
Didn't know what I wanted to do other than that. I mean, it was. I am the type of person. Unfortunately, I've tried to work on it. It's not. I used to think it was like I got a loyalty about me to the company. It was just the fact it was for me. There was a level of comfort there, whether it's good or bad. But it was every time I get to that point, though, Mike, is that I would get a promotion. I'd have another role, right? So it was like something where I got to a point where I was doing a particular job for the company in management. I was getting that point, and there was one roller coaster moment where for a year or two where I got a promotion, and then the person that got promoted from that position to the other one failed, got pushed back to the position I got promoted to, and then I got pushed back, and I was about to quit. And Nate's heard this story before, and I was talking to my dad, rest in peace, and I was just like, yeah, I think I'm gonna quit. And he's like, all right, so what are you gonna do on Monday? And I'm like, I don't know, I'm gonna figure it out. He's like, okay, so like, what bills do you have coming up? I'm like, well, I mean, I got my bills. He's like, okay, so what are you gonna do? What do you, like, to your point, like, what are you gonna do about it? You know, or what can we do about it? Yeah. And you know, at that was in my 20s, and I think it was a moment there where I was just so fed up with it that I'm just like, fuck this, I'm gonna just quit with no real savings, no
parachute.
no parachute. I'm just gonna fucking jump out of this plane, and I'll land where I land. It's not gonna go well.
Yeah.
Unless,
you might break some.
But yeah, so I mean, I get that, but I guess my part of the point is that I was going through the motions, but it's just I asked for advice from people, or I would vent to people. Mm-hmm. And they kind of have that, yeah, no, I get it. I mean, that sucks, you know what I mean? So like, and not aggressively, but like, so like, what do you think you want to do? I didn't have an answer. Mm-hmm. And it was like one of those situations. It's like, I don't know what I would do instead of this, because I had the mentality there where it was like, at that moment, it was like, well, if I don't like this, but I know what I'm doing, I'm good at what I'm doing, but I can't really translate it to something else in my mind. It was just like, yeah. There was that fear of the unknown. It was part of, this is me. This is what I do. I'm just not happy with my job right now. And that, every time I got to that point, like I said, I got promoted until I got to the top position, and I ran into that again, and didn't get along with the direction of what was going on there. And I was going through some other things in my life. I'd gone through a divorce, and I, you know, a lot of things. I was around 30 years old, and huge transitional point in my life. And they it was like either I'd make the decision or they didn't, because it just wasn't a good fit anymore. Yeah. The direction of where it would go. And they made the decision for me out of nowhere. And so I think it was kind of like everyone saw it. The people that were involved saw that it was just not going that way. But I couldn't at that time make that call of, what am I going to do about it? What am I going to do about it? I'm going to go back into work tomorrow, and I'm not, like, hopefully it'll be a good day. I wasn't so depressed or anything, like where I was just like, yeah, no, tomorrow's another day. I'm just going to go into work.
It wasn't for you.
Yeah, but I didn't I didn't have.
See,
Not
I don't
saying-
like
not saying-
those people that are, oh gosh, it's Monday. Thank God it's Friday.
Right.
Like I've never really been one of those kind of people.
No.
But those are the kind of people that kind of drag you down.
Yeah, absolutely.
They do.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, I had a guy in my old cigar shop, every day that he was there, if he walked in like, hey, how you doing? And it's Friday. Like,
Or the responsive, well, I'm here.
yeah, it's that one too.
Yeah.
It's like why like
Who
why
made
like
you?
why would someone wait? And I understand, like, I can understand and empathize for like we all need to have jobs so we can support ourselves and pay our bills, support our families, but like why would you actively, the one life that you have to live, why would you actively put yourself in a position where you're like,
where you hate the day.
it's like, well, it's Friday, I'm here. I'm like, what are you doing?
yeah.
Like, that's the one that's like,
What would you suggest they do otherwise? Because
do
there's
it-
a lot of different factors involved right there with when we're talking about, especially jobs. That we've talked about it before on here. A lot of different factors involved, whether your financial responsibilities. Because again, like me, and I saw this a lot over the last several years with that kind of, for me, it's like, yeah, millennials or like the younger generation already. It's like, no, when I was 20, I was about to do that same thing where people are jumping from job to job, and
yes,
and they could do it for a few years.
Right.
Now, not as much, because everything goes, it's kind of circular, or it's got a cycle to it.
yeah,
But I had the same mentality. Like, you know what? They disrespected me. They I was doing well, and now all of a sudden they're going to screw me over with this. Fuck it, I'm out. Luckily, I had a dad that was like, well, and he didn't have to say like, well, we're not going to help you. Like, they would have helped me out if need be, because I do have my mom, but I had loving parents that they're not going to.
sure.
But if I like fell flat on my face and just lost, like,
You wouldn't be
they would have
homeless.
given
let's put
me
it
a
that way.
bed.
Yeah,
Now, my dad, my mom also now, but like my parents would have been like to this, like, so what are we doing like tomorrow? Like, what, like, you
Mhm.
looking for a job? We look for like, what are we doing? It's
Yeah.
never a coddling to a point where it's just like that kind of the same regard of, you don't want to surround yourself with people that are complaining. You also don't want to surround yourself with people that just let you do it all the time with like they're coddling you. They enable you.
yeah. There's nothing worse. If you enable someone, you give them no reason to want to have to change.
Right.
And I think some people have to do. Unfortunately, I think there are some people in this world that do have to fall flat on their face in order to really kind of wake up and literally have to pick themselves up and go, what the fuck am I gonna do?
Yeah.
Like my kind of going back to something that was said. This kind of goes along with something that was said last week with, opportunities, right? Like, if you're someone who's unhappy, if you're someone that has a desire to do something with their life and stuff like that, and if you're someone who comes up with all the excuses in the world as to why you can't do this, or I can't do this, or that's not possible, it's like, I believe the opportunity is there for everybody, but your life circumstances, your upbringing, and things like that will dictate the level of difficulty it will take to obtain whatever it is that you want. And it's your choice if you're willing to pay the price for what it takes to get to where you want to be.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's circumstance, for some people it's easier, for some people it's harder. Doesn't mean it's not possible, but it's up to you to decide if you're willing to pay the price that it's going to take, whether it's, making a complete career change, like taking massive risks, whatever it may be. It's doable and they are attainable, but are you willing to pay the price for what it's going to take to get there? It could mean sacrifice. It could mean, it could be a lot of emotional pain. It could be stressful. It could be all those things. Like, it's not a matter of if you can or can't. It's a matter of, are you willing to do what it takes to get there? That's where it's like, I tend to get in trouble. Like, once upon a time, I used to be a lot more empathetic for these types of things. And I will admit, going back to when I used to be a lot more emotional, I was also a lot more enabling and caring a lot more about, harboring people's like feelings about, oh, poor me kind of a thing. And they want to hurt people's feelings. But what I've come to find is like, I'd rather be brutally honest with someone and be like, you have the ability to be who you want to be and to do the things that you want to do if you're willing to pay the price. Now, for some people, it may be significantly harder. It almost looks impossible to the outside world, but I don't know about you guys, but I like challenges. Like, I get very complacent if I'm not challenged by things, and I tend to cheer on the people that have the much harder route to get somewhere, because it makes more of a statement about your character, your integrity, what you're actually capable of.
Everyone loves
when you go through something that's a lot harder. There's a lot more perceived value in things that are harder to accomplish and harder to do than the easy routes. Because some people just get things handed to them, whether it's a job, it's like you have parents and stuff like that, or parents or friends who are in higher ranking in companies and stuff like that. They can just hand you a job. Like, that's easy. You
got to follow through, though.
I mean, you do have to follow through, but for some people, they have to literally, from people who come from nothing, that literally have to, like, for example, there's some people who go to college, their parents literally pay for the whole entire thing. You just got to go show up and go through the motions. And there are some people that literally have no education, like, who have parents that don't even graduate high school, that hear nothing about you going to school. You have to go do 2 jobs while you're going to school full time just to be able to get to a position you want to be. Like, the spectrums are very different, but the people who are willing to put in the work and do whatever it takes, because if you have enough desire to achieve something, like, you'll figure it out. You'll push through those obstacles and you'll do whatever it takes and sacrifice what's needed to get to where you want to be. If that's what in your heart, that's really what you want.
Correct. And I know what you're talking about, because we chatted about it,
Yeah.
Like last week. I think it comes down to the person. I'm not going to take away from someone that has some things you say handed to them, yes, in a matter of speaking, but they have the opportunities presented to them because of their life circumstances. They still have to earn it. Should have to earn it. Now, again, people get a pass their whole life just because they're just wealthy, but they're the ones that get in trouble because of a laptop or something. But I just think that no, okay, no, okay. I think that there are plenty of people that don't have, like you're talking about. Yes, it's respectable, because when you have the deck stacked against you and you still overcome that, you can have people, I think, that have a very strong work ethic and have a lot of success, that they had things, in a sense, in your words, Mike, that things were handed to them, but they still bust their ass after college, right? Sure. So they're successful on their own merit. Now, was the road a little easier for them?
Yeah.
Yes and no. You can, let's break it down. You peel back that onion far enough, and it's like, oh yeah, no, college paid for me, but my mom's on her 3rd marriage, and I don't talk to my dad, or I don't talk to my mom, or I don't, like, whatever it might be. But life was fucking easy because college was paid for me. It's like, no, you're a little rebellion because of that. Like,
definitely not.
All right, like let's talk about it.
That's fair. That's
everyone
fair.
likes the underdog, but at the same point, it's like, I also don't take away from people that had a very nice upbringing through. It could be generational, or you could be the first generation that benefited from a hardworking family. You know what I mean? They worked their ass off, but then they were the ones that got the work ethic and kind of inspiration from their parents and their surroundings. But now they got to your story or whatever. It's like college was paid for them, or they got a job at a factory, or they got, there's always circumstances if you go wide enough in what we're talking about. But I think that it comes down to is that the best thing that I think you can be taught is the critical thinking, is the work ethic, the appreciation for what you have. When people look down on people, well, yeah, of course it was easy for you to have this high paying job because you came from a family that was Midwest, middle class or higher, upper class or whatever. And it's like, everyone's got their fucking problems.
Everybody does.
And people say money can't buy happiness. Well, it can make things a lot easier.
It can give you the ability to do more, to fulfill yourself. I understand.
It gives you the opportunity, but if you fuck it up, you're still gonna fail.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think you got to keep doing that. But I mean, Nate, what do you think about when it's like someone is so stuck? We used to talk about this, that hand in your face type thing. When the problem is just in your face, they can't see anything else, and they just get stuck. but it's the big thing is how do you go forward with that when you're do you vent to other people? Do you talk? Do you take it on upon yourself? Not just you. You can use you as an example because it's easy to talk about yourself, right? I mean, it's easier to use your personal experiences, but I mean, with you and just people in general, like how do you get the hand further away from your face so you can see the problem at that moment, as well as the bigger picture of like, what are we doing? Like what, Mike's saying, what are you going to do about it? It's not like this, when you say, what are you going to do about it? It's kind of like confrontational, right? Yeah. But it's like, what can we do to make it better now and in the future, like going forward? Like what do we want to, how do we want to handle this situation as opposed to just, worrying about the problem?
Well, I think when it comes to a lot of issues, you have to sit there and go, okay, how much, like, okay, I have this problem. How much change can you yourself make to that problem?
Yeah.
Because sometimes those problems come from outside factors, other people. You can't control how other people behave or what they do. Okay, so how much can you do? So reminds me of a verse my stepdad used to talk about, as much as depends upon you, if possible, live peaceably with all men. So, there's a couple things he would always bring up. As much as depends upon you. Sometimes you can only do so much with a problem. Sometimes it's the other party. Like, you can't force their hand.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You can do what you can, but sometimes the other party's not going to meet you there.
Takes two to tango is what I've heard.
Yep. And then the other aspect was, if possible, like it's not always possible. Like if you have an issue with a coworker, it's not always possible to be friends with that coworker. Sometimes you just have to go, okay, this is where we're at.
You don't have to be friends with your coworkers.
We work together. That's the extent of our relationship. That's it.
That's fine.
We work together. Yeah. But some people sit there and they focus so much on wanting everyone around them to like them. And if you do that, you're just going to get pulled in a million different ways to the point where you may not even be able to recognize yourself. In my old career, I had someone at work that, as years went on, we didn't get along very well, and it was a combination between got tired of the job and got tired with certain coworkers. And there was an incident that happened. I had to go see a counselor, and the very first session, that counselor is like, all right, tell me what happened. Why are you here? Like, all right, here's what happened on this day. This is what, this was the most recent thing, but here's what's happened in the past. And they said, okay, so and literally the counselor asked me, all right, so what are you going to do about it? And I went, oh, I started looking for another job. They're like, oh, well, that would solve all of those problems. I'm like, yes, it would. Yeah. And they're like, okay, so what do we talk about for our hour session for the next 6 weeks? I'm like, I don't know. You want to talk about sports? I don't like.
I mean, they could have said what kind of job you're looking for.
But I mean,
through it. I mean,
but no, that and
counselor was getting paid for nothing.
But no, I wasn't paying for it.
No, someone was.
Yeah. Yep. Thank you, Patel.
All right.
But no, I mean, it was one of those situations where there was only so much I could do for my own happiness with what I was doing in that situation. Like, if there were different people, like if I had different coworkers, if I had different management, I could still see myself doing that job or being with that company and working my way up the ranks. But there were certain issues and hurdles around me that was not going to allow me to get to that position. So I had to make a change. That was what I could do. I could make a change. Yeah. I think there are some problems that are so much bigger than just ourselves, but people focus so much on them that it becomes overwhelming.
Sure.
And they're like, oh my gosh, here's this issue. Like, I can't do anything about it. And it's like, okay, if you can't do anything about it, why are you worrying so much about it?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Instead, okay, congrats, you made the realization that this problem is so much bigger than just you.
Yeah.
Okay, now how do we go on with our lives about it? Like, if this is such a big issue and you don't feel like you can have any impact or any change on that issue, okay, so what are you going to do about it tomorrow? Well, quit focusing on it. And it's easier said than done. But I think there are things that you have to come to your own realization that there are some things that you can control, some things you can't control. Quit spending so much worry on the things you can't control to where that dominates your mindset.
You're a spiritual guy, and I, no longer that way. The Serenity Prayer. Never heard the Serenity Prayer?
I may have never heard.
I'll have to look it up because I'm going to mess it up because it's been a long time.
I was saying that doesn't sound familiar to me either.
All right. Well, I think, we want to keep this a little more positive based on what you had said. And we have some other things, but I'll look this up here because it is something that from previous lifetime.
Going back 30 years.
How many?
30?
He was 10.
He would have been 13.
Oh, you're 43?
I'm 43.
I thought you were 41. You're 40.
I'm 40.
Okay.
All right, Serenity Prayer. This is actually I love this. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference.
Yeah.
Never heard it called the Serenity Prayer.
Yeah, I've never heard of it that way either.
So that's what it's called.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Noted.
Serenity Prayer. That was it.
Yeah. Got it. Got it.
It's got a name.
But okay,
It's a good one.
That speaks to what I was saying. Like,
whether you're religious or not, that's just something that it's a kind of a not to take away from the Serenity Prayer or Christian or anything, but it is something where it's like you got to realize what can you change.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest thing is you want to have the wisdom to know the difference, to change things you can, and to realize there are some things that you cannot change.
And that's the issue I think a lot of people have, though, is they spend so much time and effort and worry about the things beyond their control. And it's like focus on you.
Yeah.
And I think that's actually something that Sean Anderson's having in the conversation in the chat here. Like, instead of focusing, and like we've talked about in the past about the circles, your primary, your secondary, your tertiary circles. Like, if you want to make a change, don't start with the things that are the furthest out. Start with yourself. Start with your own household. Start with the things closest to you.
Your immediate circle, right?
Start there, because then that's your base. Even if, so if you go out, okay, now you're in a better position to be able to help, and make change as you go outward. And if something fails, you always have your core to come back to.
Yeah.
But if your foundation is weak, you're not going to be able to, expand out and do all these other things and help all
that's
these.
what Sean Anderson put up there, right? You see that comment there. Yesterday I was clever and looked to change the world. Today I was wise and looked to change myself. No, I think all of this stuff is I'm waiting for it's not negative, but it's like I'm trying to get to the positivity. I mean, like, take it down to the everyday stuff, right? You don't want to, say you trying to think of things in my life, which, it's like, you got a workout planned at like 7 a.m. or whatever, or you have an appointment before work, doctor's appointment, dentist appointment. I just went to the dentist on Monday, and I have no real worries. And obviously going to the dentist, it's like, that's the day they're like, you need a root canal, but I don't have any pain, that thing. I'm like, well, I really don't want to have a root canal
until it hurts.
Until it hurts. But it's those appointments that you're like, I'm not looking forward to it. I would schedule my appointments. So let's go, like, this is just like surface level stuff. I think it's more practical at this point, where it's like, I set up a lot of my appointments for stuff on, because I'm off Sundays and Mondays. So like Mondays, I'll set up my appointments, and then I have, Sunday, do whatever I do on Sunday, and then Monday, I would love to just like binge watch a show or do things, go to the gym and then like do some chores, whatever. And then 6 months ago, I set up a dentist appointment 1 p.m. So 1 in the afternoon, right smack dab in the middle of the day, and I'm just like, I don't want to fucking go. Not because I'm worried to go. Like I apologized to the hygienist. She was not new, but new to the office. And she's like, "Oh, so how's everything going? With the teeth?" I'm like, "Oh, everything's fine." No, like, I'm gonna apologize in advance for the tobacco stains on my teeth. And she's like, "Oh, okay. Like, I see that in the notes. You smoke cigars." I'm like, "Well, I do that for a living and all that stuff. I got a lot of stains."
Why'd you apologize though?
Because it's a lot of fucking work for her.
But that's your job. That's what you're paying to go
Because I'm a
do.
nice guy, and I just walking in there, and that's just what you do. I'm not gonna be like, "All right, get after
Well,
it."
you're not going to
Get after it,
I mean,
woman. Like,
so-
because I was just like, "Hey, I apologize." I also said I just drank a post workout shake, and I'm like, "Hey, I use some mouthwash because I brushed my teeth before the gym, like stuff like that." No, it's because I'm being polite. I mean, I know it's her job,
right? I mean,
but
but
she also at the end of it, she's just like, "Do you want to do like 6 months from now?" It's like, "Yeah, 4 to 6 months." She's like, "You're a trooper. You don't like mind the like." It's like you start doing that like what is that the ultrasound, not ultrasound,
the ultraviolet light or the
it's
light?
the water pick that's
Yeah.
like got the vibration. I forget what it's called.
I can't remember. I know what you're talking about.
But as soon as they get towards the gums and shit, like especially in the behind, like it starts hitting it a little hard. And she's like, "You're fine. We'll do 6 months." But it's like those appointments, like I'm not worried about it, but it's like I don't look forward to it. I'm looking at this a little bit lighter here, is that it's like you can postpone that. And this is like a metaphor to anything, but it's like you just like I'm going to the dentist tomorrow. Like I gotta go. I don't want to go. I don't want to go to if I have I gotta spend money on something,
Okay.
Like,
Well, I had years ago.
This is like surface level stuff
Yeah.
that it's like, when you sent this to me, Mike, it was like everyday stuff.
Yeah.
The hurdles that turn into roadblocks for people
Yeah.
aren't job changes, aren't relationships crumbling all the time.
Yeah.
This is literally like, I don't want to go to the grocery store.
Oh man,
Just
I can't.
little shit
I
that
can't.
people get bogged down with that all of a sudden it's like it ruined my fucking day. And it's like, the whole thing is like,
so
did you die?
Yeah,
so
Like,
so
no,
that's
you
another
didn't
thing.
fucking die. You just had to fucking go to the grocery store. You had a dentist appointment. You weren't
that's
having
another-
your appendix removed. Like I had my teeth cleaned, and I'm just like, I just don't want to go today.
But that's it's funny to look at. Like you have people that sit there and things that are beyond their control. They have no say in determining whatsoever. They will let those things dictate and ruin their lives or their mindset. But then also you have people that the slightest thing, like, man, I gotta go to the grocery store. It's like, how big of a deal is it to go to the grocery store? It's like, why are you so stressed out about going to the grocery store?
Why would you allow the finite time that you have to be consumed, like overinflate such a micro situation?
All right, I got to comment on the grocery store thing because this is bothering me, right? So, like right now, at least in this
Get
country,
after it.
we went from you had the checkouts, you had the cashiers, and you had baggers, right? Slowly, this changed to
Self-checkout.
No. You had lanes, and then you had the express 12 items or less self-checkout.
I used to work that.
Okay. So now you go because like, hey, we want to like minimize our payroll. So now all these IT people making these, or engineers making these self-checkout things, right? They're like, we got this. And then you had the conveyor belt ones. But you also have these express checkouts with just literally shelf for your groceries. And now it went to, there are people that are checking out an entire grocery cart on those self-checkouts because there's no lanes open. And now major retailers, grocery stores, Target, Walmart, they're going away from the self-checkouts because there's too much loss. All the while, they're like, we don't want to pay employees to check out people. You have people pulling up into parking places that do it on their phone, paying an employee to walk through the store and bring it out to you.
Yeah.
How do you take people away from just checking you out? I don't want to pay a cashier and a bagger, but I'm going to pay someone to literally be a personal shopper for you. Where's the budget control here?
That's the person who
like,
doesn't want to spend the time. They'll spend the money.
That's fine.
To not spend the time.
That's fine. There should be an upcharge. I don't know if there is, but there should be an upcharge for that. But the
Some
people that walk
places
through,
do not have.
Yeah,
walk through there.
Is there an upcharge for the?
I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just saying when you look at this full circle thing, now we're going back to cashiers. It blows my mind. Blows my mind. It also blows my mind. Ray's bored with this, apparently.
Yeah.
Shocker.
He's probably got a personal shopper. He goes to the market every day, I think.
That's cool.
Yeah, well,
I mean,
he's talked about it before. Like, they're still a communist country over there, so they don't. They don't have the refrigeration and stuff to be able to just sit there and buy something and keep it in your house for a week or a month. So a lot of those kinds of communities, they sit there and they go to the store every day because they buy things for that day or that day and the next day. So they're going more often, but spending less each trip, just because they're just getting what they
less
need.
time and money.
Yeah, they're just getting what they need.
Sure.
Now, not, hey, I go to the grocery store once a week and I buy for the entire week.
Yeah, there's the point I was trying to make. That I wanted to make a little bit earlier.
Self checkout?
No, it's kind of like more like the kind of I would consider it more of like a positive twist to like this negative thing is,
okay.
People who come up with excuses like they're unhappy. So like I think people don't give themselves enough credit for what they're actually capable of. I think there's not enough people in today's society that are willing to challenge themselves to find out what they're really capable of and what they're actually made of, and don't really appreciate the little life that they actually have. I have like Instagram and stuff like that, but I mainly use Instagram as like a tool. I have like different files that's rate like good points, best points. Like I have like stuff like for wrestling, for health related, nutrition related, and stuff like that. One of them I came across is, people who like complain. It's like life is the way that it is, but only always. So as in something goes wrong and it is the way that it is, you're complaining about it and you're spending your finite amount of time expressing how frustrated you are, but it makes no difference. Like life is still the way that it is no matter what. So like you're making the conscious decision to actually make your situation worse, which not even, and a lot of times it's not even worse. It's just, it is what it is. You're just choosing to make it more challenging for yourself, but in the wrong way.
Sure.
To where like grocery store. Okay. Like one of the things this is something that me personally, I've really focused in on, and probably over the last, like 3 years, all the little nuances that like used to like internally like kind of trigger me or like frustrate me. And it's like, I started realizing, you know what? Not going to do it. I'm just going to get it done and over. The more I did that compounded over time, I started realizing like how hard these things really were not, and how minuscule things can actually be, like, in like how unchallenging these things really are. It's like, okay, your house is dirty.
You're blowing them out of proportion.
Oh my gosh. And like the level of peace that it's brought me, just been like, okay, it is what it is. Like, it's just part of life. Like I can either choose to make it worse or just deal with it and move on and have more mental headspace to focus on things that are actually important in my life, instead of wasting my time being stressed out and pissed off over things that I can't think of any scenario in my entire life where I've ever gotten pissed off or frustrated that it's actually helped the situation. Like, has that ever happened to anyone? Like, oh, you got really angry and frustrated, and all of a sudden it just magically changed the circumstances. That's the way. If that's really how the way life works, have at it. But that's not how that's not how our world works. Everyone's got challenges in different degrees, but life is the way that it is, whether we want to accept it or not. It's just when you learn to accept it, you have more mental headspace to focus on things that are actually important. that level, like the amount of energy that it actually takes to get pissed off and frustrated and sulk in it, and it could ruin your entire day. It could ruin an hour. Like those are hours and days that are completely wasted, which don't get me wrong. You still got to deal with whatever it is, no matter what, but you're just choosing not to do it. But if people can flip that around and find out if you chose a different path and just chose to embrace things little by little, as time goes along, the more you start leaning into these things that are triggering you on the inside, which, by the way, I'm a big believer in, like, things that trigger you show you like where you're uncomfortable in your life. And it's up to you to start embracing those things, just start accepting those things. And like I said, what are you going to do about it? And start figuring out so you can start growing as an individual and realize what you're actually capable of. And little by little, start to build almost like resilience, confidence within yourself that, like, you know what, these really aren't that big of a deal. And as time goes along, that'll help build you into someone who can handle more things. Because like if you're someone who's getting pissed off that you have to go to a grocery store, what's going to happen if like your car breaks down? What's going to happen if something bad happens? Are you just going to have a mental breakdown?
Yes.
Well,
it's like,
well, I remember one time I had something happen to my car. I was like, oh my gosh, it's going to cost X number of dollars and blah, blah, blah. And like, I was so freaked out about it. And then Jess goes, okay, we got the money. Just get the car fixed. I'm like, you are handling this way too calmly and it's frustrating me. And like, you're not making a bigger deal out of this. But instead I'm sitting there going, oh, wait a minute. Like, okay, like we've been disciplined enough to be able to save, to be able to cover something like this. Like, that's why we've done this. I'm making a big deal out of it in my head because of things I've gone through in the past.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't need to be there anymore because I've taken steps to where I don't have to necessarily worry about that.
Yeah.
But it then makes, okay, this issue came up. Cool. Deal with it. Like it made like, it got kind of those little worries kind of just took them off the table a little bit. I mean, I talked about it before. Like I had some friends on social media that like every single day they were posting stuff that would just make me angry. And I want to debate them. And I wanted, and like I'd spend all day at work, like still thinking about the conversation or what am I going to say next? And then I was like, this is having too much of a negative impact on me. So I need to just stop this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to see this anymore. You're a friend, but you're having too much of a negative impact on my life. So I'm just like, I don't see any of their shit anymore.
You're outgrowing people.
Yeah. I've learned
that's a real thing.
I've learned that when there are people in my life that are negative, cut them off. Cut them out. So, hey, if you want to be a positive influence in my life, absolutely. I will socialize with you. I will hang with you. I will spend time and energy on you.
Yep.
I will be there for you.
Absolutely.
But if you're someone who's just going to bring me down, nope.
Get them out. And it's like, there's another like old saying. It's like the people who try to tell you, oh, you've changed, don't know how to tell you, hey, you've grown.
Oh, there's a t-shirt.
Yep. And that's
say that again.
I said people who tell you that you have changed don't know how to tell you that you've grown.
Damn. That's good. I like that.
That's something that I've actually been dealing with probably over the last 3-4 years of my life. And this is coming from friends, family, and I just, as the years have gone by, to focus a lot more on my inner peace and focusing on myself. I've gotten statements like, "Oh, you care about yourself, like you're putting yourself before everybody else." And like, I'm not putting myself first out of selfishness. I'm putting myself first so that I know I can show up as the best version of myself for everybody around me, whether it's my employer, my family, my friends. And at the end of the day, like, I am who I am. Take it or leave it. It's easier for me to find out who really cares about me, who really wants me in their life. Because if you're going to point the finger at me, just want to point blame game, judgments, you find out very quickly who's really meant to be in your life and who's not. Yeah. And that's okay. I mean, when it comes to people getting pissed off and angry, like I'm a big believer in, like, the level of things that frustrate you and get you angry is a direct reflection of the level of confidence you have within yourself. You know, if you're fully confident in who you are as a person, the outside world, what gets said, what gets done doesn't really matter. But the level of confidence you have yourself will dictate what frustrates you. If you're allowing things to frustrate you, you're allowing things to get you angry, that's showing you areas of your life you're not confident within who you are as a person. That's the only reason. To me, that is the only reason you allow things to get to you, is some lack of confidence within yourself.
Over the recent years, like there's been so many things that I've just stopped giving a shit about and stopped worrying about, because I can't, like, I'll do as much as I can on certain issues and certain things. But I've also learned like what is outside of my control, and the things outside of my control, I stop spending energy on.
Mm-hmm.
And so like, you know, I'll have someone call me up, or I'll meet someone and like, hey, what's going on? Like, yeah, nothing. And they're like, man, you are so quiet. Like, what's wrong with you? And I'm like, nothing.
I get that all the time.
I just like, I mean, like you know, when we had Spencer on back in January, like Spencer wanted to make a big deal about me turning 40 in December. And like, to me, it was, I said on the podcast, like, it's just another day. And Spencer's like, oh no, we got to do something. You're 40. Like, we got to make this big ordeal. And like Easter Sunday, my dad came over. Earlier in the week was my dad's birthday. And someone was like, oh, how was your birthday? And my dad's like, another day.
Yeah.
Like, and that's something that, you know, it's like, it's another day on the calendar. Like, you know, people are like, oh, do you feel older? Like, I feel a day older than I did yesterday. Like, what do you want? Like,
what's wrong with celebrating?
There's nothing. Well, I mean,
why don't you celebrate then?
I celebrate.
No, I'm asking, why don't you?
I did go out for my birthday. Jess
same thing as always. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but I mean, it was funny.
It's another birthday.
To me,
you run out. To your point earlier, Mike, finite time.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You run out of birthdays.
I get that.
Do you? I mean, like, I'm listening to this conversation. I think it's great. I mean, I absolutely think it's great. But it's just, you know, like, cutting people out of your life. To me, it's sometimes extreme. Now, if it's getting to the extreme, absolutely. Like, I got a good friend, you know, Big Rob and stuff like that. Like, I reached out to him, I commented, and he sent me a message about something. You know, it's like, we always have. I've known him since high school, and he lives 3 neighborhoods down from me right now. We went through some thick and thin back in the day, and we're still good friends. But it's like, you know, I'll reach out to him, whatever. And he reached out to me recently, and it was about a motorcycle. It's the same 2 years earlier, 1975 Yamaha RD350, right? It was like this one that he got me, you know, got it running for me. I bought it for $200. He sent me a 1973 beat up Yamaha RD350. They're asking $2,800 for it. And I was like, the fuck? And he's like, you know what? I said, yeah, man, I miss riding with you. He's like, yeah, I'm just too old. And he said something about, you know, I just don't, you know, we used to ride before cell phones was, you know, texting was a thing and all that stuff. And I said kind of same thing, you know, I said, you know, yeah, well, you're about to be a year older, because his birthday is actually 2 days from now. Same day as Tony, my dog's gotcha day, right? Adoption day. And I said, I'd love to get together soon. He said, I would too. And he's like, I just been kind of down lately. He's like, it just, you know, haven't been feeling real social. So I feel as though, like, I appreciate everything you guys are saying, but there's also some effort there on your own. You know, it's like, yeah, it's another day. Cool. That's, to me, you're complacent, which, you know, Mike, you commented earlier that, you know, I've been listening this whole time here, right? So, like, you know, complacency, it drives you nuts.
Yeah.
So even in your own life, steadiness sometimes slips to complacency very, very quickly.
Yes, it does.
You do the same thing every birthday. You do the same thing, you know, like a day in, day out, right? So let me finish.
Yeah.
So it gets to a point where it's like, you know, I check in. I don't push my friend to be like, hey, let's get together tomorrow. But I'd say, you know, hey, I'm here for you if you want to get together for your birthday, or go out, or you want to have a cigar, you want to, you know, you just want to, I can come over to your house, whatever, you know, I'm not pushing it on him because to him, he's the kind of guy, he's the most caring person I've ever met. And I've met a lot of caring people. But he's gotten that point too, where it's just like that, you know, he's turning 43 this week. And he's had a hell of a road in his life, things that he has overcome. He's really put himself, he's 110% in anything he gets involved in. And then he's fine being on his own. He's got a great woman that he lives, you know, been with for over a decade. But it's like all these things you guys are talking about. I'm also thinking like, you know, what can we do about it? You can't always change it, but it's like you can always be there for someone. You can back away, you know, but it's like, you know, like you brought it up, Nate, and it's what you want. But like when, you know, when Spencer was asking, like he like let's celebrate, you know. I mean, you know, even when you came on your birthday on New Year's Eve, you know, it's like, let me buy you a drink. You're like, nah, no, I'm good. It's like there's a mutual respect there that you don't force anything, but it's like, you know, to embrace, not you, Nate, I'm not putting this on you. I'm just thinking as I'm listening to this conversation, it's like to embrace that steadiness, or like people are, you know, how quick do you cut ties with people? Sometimes you can give them space, you can back away, you make yourself available, but if they're bringing you down in a negative way, it's not always cutting ties. Sometimes it is, if it's extreme, right? Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
If they are causing detriment to your life, that's when you break away completely. If they're just sorrow and they're just sulking and all that stuff, hey man, I'm here for you whenever you need. I feel like if it's, you don't have to put yourself out there, and I that you're absolutely right. Sometimes where you just like your life will be better if you just walk away. If they want to reach out to you, that's fine. But you know, I think of some of my friends I've known for almost a lifetime that you give them some space, you let them do you for a while. But I don't think there's anything wrong with sometimes checking in, because those are the texts, and I'm getting negative here, or at least serious. It's like those are the texts that you wish you would have made after the fact. Those are the calls you wish you would have made.
Yep.
You know, I love technology is great when it works, but I absolutely try to store as many, and I miss a lot, but as many birthdays. You guys talking about that, Nate? As many birthdays in my phone, and I literally will have a text thread or a Facebook Messenger thread that their birthday comes up, and
the last time you messaged them was on there.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Sometimes
You texted me for my birthday.
The last time that we texted was, you know, on my birthday. They texted me. I had a guy I went to high school with that I wasn't even that fucking close with. His name's Kirk Bevington.
Yeah.
And on Facebook Messenger, he, for whatever reason, he always, on my birthday, it's HBD. Hey, thanks, brother. And then next year, you know, he does the same thing.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's because we weren't ever close, but I look at that as like those little things. You never know when it's going to hit someone. So all this stuff was, you know, and I give you guys merit, you know, for, you know, taking care of yourself first, and
100%, yeah.
Absolutely. And when someone is causing a detriment to your life, you got to back away. Sometimes you do have to cut ties completely. Delete, block, whatever you need to do, because all they're doing is doing negativity on your life and on their life. And you've tried to help them, they won't do it. But there is, I feel as though, is that with the topic of what can we do about it, is sometimes you got to touch base with them.
Absolutely.
I love that we talked about the birthday, because, you know, it's sometimes just on that day, even if that person doesn't take it like as seriously, or it's like, oh, it's just another day. Sometimes the same thing. Full circle this conversation. Well, it's Friday. Well, I'm here. Hey, how was your birthday? Yeah, it's just another day. I'll light one fucking candle for you to fucking blow out. Fucking do it. Make a goddamn wish like you're 6 years old again. You know what I mean? This is your year. You're fucking whatever, 62 years old. Blow it out and make a wish for this year. Take control again, a little bit of, get a little bit of optimism, a little positivity. Get out there and just like, yeah, okay, you're, for this example, you're 62 years old. When I see you, if I see you when you're 63, that's just another day. How was the last year? That's fine. Holy shit, wake up.
Yep. That's a good point.
Or call it.
Yeah.
If you're just existing, that's fine for some people. I'm not taking away from that. People are just fine and complacent with that, and they're going to live until they die. And that's literally the story of their life. They are living until they die. That's fine. The positivity I can give on this is that you can give some positivity to people. You can actually wish them a happy birthday. You can say, hey, how you doing today? And you're like, I always get this in the shop. Living the dream. Is it a good one?
I love that.
Just
I love it.
Like, stop, man.
Yep.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm also, you don't want to give me your life story if it's good or bad. It's like, you don't want to tell me your dog just died and you just went through a divorce and you lost your job and you just, whatever. I got a surgery coming up and all that stuff. But every once in a while, if you just throw a little jab, quick jab, right to the jaw there. Well, yeah, I'm here. It's like, sorry, you didn't have, did someone make you come here? Sometimes you get that little smile. Sometimes you're like, go fuck yourself, but other times, like, they're like, no, it's not bad. It's been a pretty good week. And then they start maybe appreciating a little bit.
Yeah,
sometimes
absolutely.
being selfish, you get a little bit from that.
Well, like, I mean, you brought up, me talk about my birthday. I don't like, Jess and I do stuff on my birthday every year, and I definitely look forward to it. I just don't necessarily make a big deal out of it as much as, Spencer wanted to make a big deal out of it.
Yeah,
that was the only
not your style, not your style.
Yeah, that was the only issue with that. Like, no, I went out, I celebrated my birthday. Like, went to a restaurant, we had a good meal, we had a good time. I had to work earlier that day. We went home, we watched movies, we watched the ball drop, like, had a nice bottle of champagne. Like, no, it was a good day. It was a good day.
That's what you want.
I just
that's great.
But like, both myself and my dad, we're both a little stoic, and like, to where, like, all right, cool, like, today's another day. Not saying that in a bad way. It's like, all right, today's another day. Like, okay, what am I going to do? Like, all right, I get to do this.
Yeah.
Like, I don't, like I look forward to going to work most days. Most days I look forward to going into work because of what I do and how much I enjoy it. Like, I look forward to it.
Yep.
When the day comes, if you're going through something where all of a sudden you hate going in, you hate doing the job, like, that's your sign. Like, okay, do you need a reset? Like, do you need to think about things differently, or do you actually need to do something different? But it's one of those things, like, okay, the Earth's going to turn, it's going to go around the sun, you're going to age.
Let's
like,
hope.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean,
we'll see
what
what happens on Monday with the eclipse.
Like, I liked your
traffic jams.
But, like, the reason I don't make a big deal, like, the reason I didn't make a big deal about turning 40 was, it was a birthday. It's not because, I was depressed about turning 40 or anything like that. It's just, no, I'm going to celebrate my birthday the way I want to. I had to work that day. I smoked some nicer cigars than I normally do.
There you go.
Jess and I, there's a reason why Jess and I don't go to that particular restaurant all the time. It's that way. It's something to look forward to for my birthday.
Okay.
But, I don't sit there, like, I didn't want to make a big deal out of it because guess what? That's what happens. Like, you get older, you have another birthday.
Sure.
Like,
hopefully.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
That was my point. That was my point.
Yeah. But I mean,
I think people do.
You shouldn't have to, and we've talked about this in the past, I know, you shouldn't have to rely on a day on the calendar to
get excited.
Yeah. Like, you should, I mean, so, I get up in the morning, I go to work, like, I look forward to that because of what I do, the customer interactions, I want to do my job. Like, that's what I look forward to. When I worked at AEP, most of the time when I was there in my sales role, sales operations, like, I looked forward to doing the best I could for my sales reps, and so that way they could get a win.
Yeah.
Like I celebrated them getting a win more than they did it at times.
Mhm.
Like I would sit there and go, hey, cool, we got a deal signed. It's like, yep, I still got this much in my bucket that I gotta get. I'm like,
Yeah.
but you gotta win. Like you gotta,
gotta win.
celebrate that. You gotta
Yeah.
win. You got a contract
I
signed.
mean,
Great.
even going beyond like celebrating like the wins and things you look forward to, it's like I also think that you gotta make the best of every situation, whether it's in your favor or not. Like you can kind of going back to the whole like people complain like the circumstances and things in that situation. I want to after I like talk about after I talk about this, I want to touch on one of your points. It's like even during times where circumstances may not be great, it's being able to be grateful for like the life that you have and the fact that you're here and making the best out of like negative situations. Let me an example, right? So as you guys know, like almost 2 weekends ago when I did my wrestling tournament,
Mhm.
I spent a couple $100 to, I got to get my membership card. I had to get the cost to get into the tournament. I had the travel expenses. I had to get my hotel, I had to get my food. I had to pay for the gas. I drove from Indianapolis to Chicago, from Chicago all the way to the far end of Iowa, and to go and compete. 1 minute and 46 seconds in the very first match, I literally tear my rib cartilage.
Yep.
And literally laying on the mat, like hardly, like I was struggling to breathe. I could, if I needed to raise my voice, I couldn't do it. Like it was hard to talk. All that time, all that effort, and it just got taken away in an instant. Right. And the old me probably would have been like pissed off and angry and all this stuff. And like I thought to myself, it's like, it is what it is. This is just what happened. I can either choose to, sulk in what happened or make the best of it. So what did I do? I decided to pick myself up, held the ice pack on for probably 2+ hours afterwards. Like I supported everyone else that was there and made some friends. I just made the best of it. It's a situation that a lot of people probably would have been like, holy crap, like this effing sucks. And I got to drive home with an injury and all this. Like, no, I actually enjoyed myself thoroughly because I chose to do so. I chose to take a negative situation and make the best of it. And that's just one example. And even then I want to kind of piggyback off like,
I'm sorry. Hold that thought real quick because I do like this comment because we might be related. Nate, we'll go ahead and read that one from Sean Anderson.
Perhaps that day on the calendar, the start of you day, Nate Hale and Steve Crane, isn't about you celebrating yourself, but allowing those that love and care about you celebrate you.
That's true. That's a good point. I like that.
I love that.
That's really cool.
Love that.
That's good. That's great.
A lot of times the celebrations and that kind of thing, if you get a promotion, something happens, you buy a house, you're just like, oh no, it's just part of life. That's what I want to do. I'm happy about it. And the birthday thing is, it's something that I'll relate it to the other side of this, right?
Okay.
I go to the cemetery on a handful of days.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
One, the day my dad passed, Father's Day, and on his birthday.
Yep.
That's where I look at this. I'm not like trying to press, but it's like one of those things that it's like, it is bigger than you, a lot of this stuff. And I'm not trying to contradict what you guys are saying about like cutting people off and like putting you first, but the people that you care about, that actually care about you, that are putting effort in their life, don't shove them away.
No,
because I think that happens when it's like, oh, like birthdays or whatever, like your dad, Nate, and you, and I'm not big on birthday celebrations, but if Kristen wants to plan a big thing or whatever, let's go. I appreciate it. I don't need the attention. I'm not going to be the one that plans the party, but man, I'm more touched that I have those people in my life that want to do it for me.
Yep.
Yeah. I like that, Sean.
That's really good.
Yeah.
It's good. No, that's good to have people like that in your life. And I'm kind of on the same page with you with that. And like, I know like Marissa's really big on doing stuff like that, which again, do I need the attention? Do I need the over above stuff? No, but it's a testament of someone else's character by caring enough to want to do stuff like that. And which I genuinely appreciate.
I just feel fortunate.
Right. Not everybody has those types of people in their life. And if you're fortunate enough or lucky enough to have someone like that, then be grateful for it.
Yeah. Nate, I'm not towards you.
No, and by the way,
your birthday celebration is great. I mean, I think it's great.
By the way,
no,
I want to
like not it, and it's not like my birthday is the only time that happens. Like there are times where like I'll come home from work and Jess is like, "Hey, so how was your day?" I'm like, "Yeah, day was fine."
Mm-hmm.
Like, did you? And she's like, "Well, were there any exciting customers that came in? Were there any exciting sales that you had?" I'm like, no. Like, if there was an exciting sale, like, if I sold a customer $9,000 worth of wine, like that would be something like, oh yeah, you got to hear about this. Like, check this out. But it's like if it's just a day at work, like if there's nothing grand that happens, like I sit there and go, well, it was a good day.
Yeah.
Things were fine. Like, oh, was there anything special about it? Like, not really. It was a day at work. I did my job. Like, that's it. Like, I think there are some people that, even when they ask something as minuscule as, how was your day? It's like, my day was fine. Like, there wasn't necessarily anything grand and exciting about it. But then they're like, well, what the hell? Like all of a sudden they become disappointed. It's like,
Do you share the negative?
Huh?
Do you share the negative?
Yeah.
All right. It's good.
I'll share the negatives. I'll share the positives.
Yeah.
But like, if there's nothing that in my mind is noteworthy, then like, okay, it was, hey, I did my job. Like today was another day. It's not necessarily a negative. It's not like, today was just another day at work. It's like, no, like I look forward to the days when something exciting happens.
Sure.
And you have, a really good customer come in, or, you sell something really nice. Like those are things you want to talk about. But I think there are times where some people almost get disappointed in you if a day is just another day.
Mm-hmm.
It's let's keep it positive.
No, I mean,
because I feel like I took, Sean's compliment or comment there. It was about like people want to celebrate you, and then all of a sudden it turns into people are upset with you, and it's not a glorious day. Like again, it's a mentality there. This is a mindset here.
I want to touch base on.
Go.
I want to clarify something too. Like, as you mentioned, how like with me and Nate, like cutting people off. I don't believe in cutting people off. I know as the kind of person who I am today, I don't like negativity. I don't like pessimism. I don't like the victim's mentality. And if there's one thing that I despise, and I would say despise, is gossip.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm the kind of person, like, my door is always open. I always have a seat at my table, right? You get to decide what you're going to bring to that table. Now, all I can say is I'm either going to support and be there for you with the things that I'm okay with. But if you're going to just bring sheer negativity, not looking for solutions, if you're going to come and gossip, I'm not going to entertain you. And at that point, that's your choice if you want to get up off that chair and walk away or not. I don't believe in cutting people off. My door is always open, but if you know who I am, it's your choice if you want to sit at my table. Because if you're looking to be enabled, if you're looking for someone to gossip with, like, that's not going to be me. I'm not going to tell you to leave. Mm-hmm. I'm just not going to give you the time of day for it. I'm not going to acknowledge it.
Right.
It's your choice. If I'm not giving you those negative feedback and like being negative just like you don't have to sit here. I'm not going to tell you to leave. Sure. But by any means, like, there could be 5 negative situations where I'm not giving you the time of day, but you bring me one positive one, I'll always be right on board with you and support you for everything that's positive. Like, gossip is the one thing in my mind that I'd have zero tolerance. Actually, there's been a couple scenarios, I'd say probably in the last couple of weeks, and this is just through passing, where one individual started saying something negative about someone. I stopped them right away.
Mhm.
And I'm like, let me ask you something. Number one, is what you're about to tell me a good thing, or, I'm going with this?
Yep.
Is it a good thing or a bad thing? Well, it's not necessarily good. Okay. Do you know for a fact that whatever you're about to tell me is actually true? Well, I mean, not exactly. I heard, okay. So what you're about to tell me is not something good. You don't know for a fact, verbatim, that it's actually true. And the last thing is this useful to me? Well, I mean, I don't know, maybe like, okay, so you're about to tell me something that's negative that you don't know is actually true, and you're not even sure if it's useful to me. Why do I even want to entertain this?
What my stepdad used to do is if someone was getting ready to share gossip with them, he would cut the person off and go, okay, am I part of the problem or part of the solution? And if they're like, oh no, you're not part of the problem, you're not part of the solution, I'm like, and he would go, then why are you telling me? Because his definition for gossip was sharing detrimental information about someone to someone who's not part of the problem or part of the solution. And so
You could add to that. Do you want my opinion?
Yeah.
You could add to what he said. Do you want my opinion?
well, but like
Some people like to vent.
yes,
Some people like to spread gossip and not want to listen to anything. They just want to like, hey, I got the tea, man. Let me give it to you here.
but like it's funny. You want to hear a good gossip crowd? Go hang out with a bunch of church people. You want to talk about gossips? Oh my gosh. Like it's terrible.
Go to a cigar shop.
Yeah. But it's like there's some people that want to talk about other people to other people. And it's like, well, wait a minute, this has nothing to do with me. I can't fix the problem. I'm also not part of the problem. So why are you telling me this? Like, why?
Thank you, sir. I believe in sharing good things about. If I'm going to talk about someone, it better be good.
It should be.
That brings up a comment that I missed. I can't put it up here, but there are some comments going back and forth. I think Ray said it. It seems as if some people expect an attaboy for having a positive moment in their lives.
No,
There are some of those people out there.
Yeah.
That like any little thing they do, like, but I think it's more like they just want some of that positive and reinforcement. Like sometimes a compliment can go a long way, even if it's for something minor or something that the rest of us feel is insignificant. It's like, but if you said, all right, good job. Like, all right, that's cool.
Yeah.
Like sometimes that can be uplifting
I mean,
to that person.
My take on that is, I got to say, I do agree with Ray to an extent. I do agree with that because
I don't know what his point was. I don't know if he thinks it's a good thing.
I'm going to guess like I'm, unless he wants to clarify if he's still on here.
He is.
It sounds like people need that. Like they need to get that validation. And that kind of goes back to my point. Like if you're confident enough in yourself, you don't need external validation, but that doesn't mean if it comes to your way, it's just a bonus. It shouldn't be something that needs, if you have enough confidence in yourself and what you're doing and what you're accomplishing, if you're really doing it for yourself, you don't need external validation because you already have the answer within yourself. And if someone says, oh, attaboy, or oh, that's a great job, it's just a bonus.
So so I'm it's a bonus. A lot of times people, especially in the job arena of your life, if you don't get attaboys and all you're getting is negative when you mess up, dude, I am all about attaboys. I would love to tell someone that they did a good job, made a good sale, did good.
Yeah, absolutely.
You hit your numbers.
It's good to do.
Doesn't happen though. That's what I'm saying.
Hey.
I'm telling you.
Okay.
So Mike, so this is real quick. You're big into like, the fitness area, all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
So you see someone you haven't seen in a while and they're looking good.
Oh, first.
What are you going to say?
The first thing
you're going to give a fucking attaboy.
Yeah.
Because they're doing well.
Yeah.
That's good. Like, so when someone, like, I'm not saying like,
but I'm not saying
hey,
it
you
because
showed up on time, way to go, you did that, but you give an attendance bonus,
sure,
right?
it's
So
a bonus.
I understand that, but that's an attaboy. You do a good job. If you get no positive feedback from your employer, from your significant other, if you get no positive reinforcement from people that matter, the attaboys, that lapse of communication about you're doing well builds up a lot of times, in my opinion, it builds up into resentment. The only time they say something is when you fuck up.
Yeah.
That's a totally, I think that's totally different.
That's very related, because if there's no attaboys, there's no, hey, nice job today. You did good.
Sure.
There are times, literally, on, like, for me, as small as this is for everyone, like, it's on a Saturday, open to close or whatever, and I was really good at it. I'm trying to get back to it. Is that, like, someone that closes the shop with me? Hey, thanks for everything for today. May not mean they might just wash over. Yeah, probably have a good night. You know what I mean? You stop saying that. Enough time goes by. Do they even appreciate what I'm doing? Do you understand the impact of positive reinforcement?
It is good to have positive reinforcement,
dude. It's the best.
It is good.
That is the best way to influence, in my opinion, someone's life, whatever arena you're in, is the attaboy. I'm not saying every time.
Okay.
You know, it's not like a child learning to walk. You're like, oh, you made another step there. hey, yeah, nice job. You know, like having a dog. That's what, let's look at it. A dog, right? You didn't pee in the house. Good boy. It's a good boy. You know, like, dogs appreciate that shit. It's you're a good boy. People are the same way.
Yep.
They hear good boy, good girl, all that stuff. Like, dude, that we don't have enough of that shit, in my opinion. We need more good boy, good girl, good whatever your gender is, right? But it's like, you know, good job. We need more of that. That everyday little positivity. I'm not saying like, hey, you flushed the toilet when you're 40 years old. Like, hey, good job, buddy. you went potty. I'm not saying that. I'm saying you did, you know, like, hey, thanks a lot for today. That's the attaboy that I like, is that, hey, nice job today. You know what I mean? Like, it was a tough day. Good job. Like, you did well. That's not enough. I don't think that's enough in this world. So I don't know what Ray was trying to say, but I think that there's something there that the attaboys out there need to be more abundant. We need to show appreciation for the people that are doing a good job.
Absolutely.
No matter what the arena is, and especially at home. Especially at home. I say thank you so much.
Yes.
The best I can in my relationship with Kristen, when I feel as though if I didn't, you know what happens? And I'd feel the same way with her to me, is you do things and then all of a sudden, oh, they're taking me for granted. Because I've been in relationships like that in the past where I maybe not have said thank you enough. I've been in jobs where I've had employees, I didn't say thank you enough. And all of a sudden, when things are going bad, now I'm talking. Now I'm communicating, because I have to, because things aren't going well. But when things are going well, I don't give them an attaboy.
Yeah, I want to clarify a couple of things with this.
I'm not attacking you, Mike. I'm
no.
I'm literally saying I just really think the positive reinforcements need to be the focal point there, so that when the negatives come up or when the downfalls happen,
they don't
now
feel like it's a personal attack.
It's not just that. What about everything else I did the last 3 months?
No.
What about the last, like, you know, I hit my goals sales wise, and you didn't even say thank you. And it's like, oh, well, you got bonuses for that.
So I want to try and clarify this, because I do agree with what you're saying. I guess the main point I was trying to make is, like, first off, there's a separation between someone saying you fucked up or you're not doing good enough versus being praised. And the reason I say that is, if you have confidence in yourself, you're doing the best that you can and you're doing the right thing. If you feel confident and then someone detriments you, that's what I believe starts to create the resentment, because you know in your heart you're doing everything that you can. If you have confidence in yourself and you also get praise for it, that's what I mean. There's a bonus. I don't think, don't get me wrong, I believe in positive reinforcement. I am very, very big on giving that to as many people as possible, but it shouldn't be a requirement. Like, I don't feel like because you don't get the attaboys and appraisement shouldn't automatically mean that you're not doing good enough. Now, again, if you know in your heart you have the confidence in yourself that you're doing everything that you can, and then someone tries to detriment that, that's where I feel like stepping in or having resentment, whatever the case may be.
Sure.
That makes a lot more sense. And where was I going at with this? Is I really do feel like the more confidence that you have within yourself, the less you require, and I emphasize require, because all the positive reinforcements, because I'm also someone, I don't praise people on their accomplishments. I praise people on their efforts, because people are at different stages. Let me give you a great example, especially someone who's just getting started off. They fall on their face 10, 15, 20 times. If you fall on your face 10, 15, 20 times and you're constantly losing, but you know in your heart you're trying your best, and then someone says to you, "Oh, you suck." Well, then of course you're going to get pissed off, because you know in your heart you're trying and no one seems to think you're good enough. That creates resentment. But if you're acknowledging someone's efforts, that's what's going to fuel them to want to continue going forward, because they know in their heart they're trying everything that they can. It's the efforts I feel like are more important to acknowledge than the actual accomplishments. Because if you're only going after the accomplishments, then all you're worth is what the results are, because it's the efforts, the constant reinforcement of the efforts is what builds up that character and that confidence to continue to keep going. But if let's just say you got a big, humongous, obnoxious goal and you're just stressing about, well, if I don't hit this goal, I'm worthless. No, you're not worthless, because if you're someone that's new, it may take a lot more times falling on your face to get there. Like a great example is like for me with wrestling, right?
Yeah.
My very first year that I ever, by the way, wrestling, for anyone out there who's ever been a wrestler,
comment up there, because I want to comment on that afterwards.
There's one of the things I love about this sport is it's one of the most mentally breaking sports that exists. More often, about 80% of people who try wrestling for the first time will quit within their first year because of how difficult it is. People can't deal with the fact that you get tossed around, thrown around, embarrassed. There's no object to blame. There's no teammate to blame. It's you and your physical abilities against another person. It can really mentally break a lot of people. My first year wrestling, I lost every single match. But my dad, every single time, was like, you know what? You pushed hard, like you did the best you could, like just keep going, like you're putting in the efforts. It gave me that confidence to keep going. Now, on the flip side, if I had someone like, oh, dude, like this isn't for you, like you suck, I probably would have quit. But that's the lesson that I learned. It's acknowledging people's efforts, because everyone's going to start somewhere. You all have to learn. You all have to grow. And it's the process of growing, and it's the process of getting better. Sure. And having those things enforced, that's where it's the most crucial. Because if you're only focused on what results you can bring, like all you're focused on is stressing out about, oh, am I going to be able to accomplish this? This is so hard. Then you psych yourself out. Like, it's like the same thing with like fitness. You mentioned the fitness. It's like most people who are not in shape or are out of shape, like they stress so much, like how far away their goal is. It's a big spectrum. For some people, it's just shorter. Some people, it's longer, and they focus so much. Like, am I going to be able to get there? No. Did you put your shoes on? Did you get to the gym? If you could just show up, that's step one. Just prove to yourself you can show up.
Yeah.
Right. Then just show up. Then just do something. They do little itty bitty steps, and like acknowledge the efforts that you're making, because the efforts is what's going to last, not the accomplishments. That's where I believe, given the positive reinforcements. Like, for example, right? So like when I was at the tournament, I actually went there. The tournament a few weeks ago, I went there with a guy from my club, and he got smoked his first match, and he was all like bent out of shape and all upset about it. I told him, like, dude, like you really pushed hard, like you got this. Like I basically kind of acknowledged his efforts, and I gave him a little bit of a boost going in the second match, which he won.
That's great.
I mean, it's one of, I believe in positive reinforcements for efforts, not accomplishments. So yes, don't get me wrong.
I didn't say you didn't. That's what those attaboys are, and that's where I look at this comment from Sean Anderson. Problem with the dog analogy that I made, right, is you can also make a dog starve to do that. Every time it goes to eat, you hit it on the nose. After a bit, it won't try anymore and lay there and starve. That's exactly what I was saying,
Yes.
actually, Sean, is that the positive reinforcement. If you did that, first of all, you're a fucking psychopath and you should never own a dog or be anywhere close to any other person.
You should never be in charge.
And actually, someone should do that to you. But I would say is that that's what I'm trying to say is that I talk to my dog. Sometimes he's so animated and he's all about like, wanting to be, somewhere else and like, wants to be around me. And I'm like, hey, go finish your dinner. Go finish your dinner. He finishes it. I say, good boy. Because I know that there's a great parallel between what I'm talking about with a dog as a analogy is that people respond the same way. We give ourselves way too much credit. We need positive reinforcement. If all you're getting is negative feedback, you're doing what you think you're supposed to be doing, and you're doing a good job. Your significant, whatever it might be, is like you're doing a good job. And the only time you guys actually talk about something real, your employer comes to you and you're like, hey, I got to talk to you about something you messed up with. That is exactly what Sean's talking about.
Exactly.
Is that you did a bad job. And like, I was trying to do my job because you gave me these levels to hit.
Yeah.
And I was hitting them. You're like, nah, you didn't hit it good enough. That's when someone will, in this analogy, metaphorically, you will starve, and what will happen? They will be depleted and they will no longer perform for you, and they will figuratively, hopefully, starve to death, and then you'll have to fire them or they'll quit.
So,
like, that's my whole point, is that no, positive reinforcement is that you did good. It's the same thing. You're training a dog and it's like, sit, you give him a treat. If all you do is like look at him, you're like, sit, bat him on the nose, you're like, well, I don't know what I'm doing wrong.
Yeah.
People are the goddamn same way.
Yeah.
Do your job. I am. You did hit the goal. I'm giving you a new goal. You didn't do good enough. Well, I was at 110%. Well, I was expecting you to be 120%. That whole fire and brimstone thing coming at you, and like, okay. Now all of a sudden you lose credibility. Now you feel shitty about yourself. As people, we can like go search other employment. That dog, they can't just put out a fucking Facebook ad and be like, I am looking for a new owner. My owner fucking sucks. And he's a sociopath. And all he's trying to do is feel better about himself. And he bats me on the nose every time. He's like, go get that bone. I come back with the bone. He bats me on the nose. I'm like, I don't know what to do with myself right now. People are the same way.
Oh, yeah.
In my opinion. Like, so, Sean, I understand what you're saying there to a point, but it's like, no, if you're trying to feed a dog and then you bat him on the nose and you're like, don't eat that food. And you're like, they're so loyal to a point. That's how people are the same way. They want, not I want to say they want to be told what to do, but they think they're doing a good job. And you're like, no.
Yeah.
And they bat you on the nose. If you could do that in a workplace and literally bat someone on the nose, you're like, hey, I hit my goal. Like, nah, not good enough.
Smack you right in the face right back.
Should.
Yeah. It would. I almost did it once.
Well, if
they didn't hit it, I understand that. But if they hit their goal, like,
I've had reviews.
You're a sociopath then at that point. I wanted more than that. Well, you gave me a goal. I hit it. I wanted this goal. It's like,
well, you didn't tell me that. Lacking communication there. But like I've had reviews in the past where like nothing had really been said to me during the course of the review period, and then come to the review and I'm sitting there going into the review thinking, all right, during the last, whether it be 3 months, 6 months, a year, it's like, okay, like they haven't said anything, like they haven't come up to me with a problem or something that I've been doing wrong. So I go into it thinking, all right, things are good. Like this should be a good review.
They hold on to that.
And
stuff,
then,
man.
you find out they're a sandbagging motherfucker.
Well, they have to make it feel they're validated.
They've been sandbagging on issues for like the last 6 months. And you're like, why are you telling me about this now? Like, where's this? Like, oh, so this was an issue 6 months ago, but you let me continue doing this for the last 6
I've been
months.
there too.
Like,
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, okay. And so like I've had it where, that person, that manager wanted feedback. And I was like, all right, here's my feedback. If there's a problem, if there's something I'm doing wrong, or if I do something wrong or someone else has a problem with me, let me know immediately. Let me know, right away. So that way I can take the necessary steps to correct this going forward. You don't sit there and let someone fuck up and be like, that person fucked up. Their review's not for another 6 months. I'm going to let them keep fucking up for the next 6 months. That makes you an asshole. That makes you a horrible person.
100%.
You want to hear a crazy story? So I actually had something like that, but it was completely
take the banner down. Close your remarks.
So I had actually the polar opposite, right? So
it's 3 hours in. So
I know
I like this conversation because it's gone both from positive, negative, turned it into a positive. It's kind of gone back and forth. Like I had one time where a review, right? So I got when I was back in the fitness industry, I got brought into a club to kind of help turn it around because the morale was kind of low and sales were down.
Excuse myself, but I keep going.
Like sales were down, sales were low. And so I came in to try to turn it around. And I got to know everyone incrementally. I got to know like who's at what level, like who's new, especially the newer people, right? Because whenever you have someone that's new, has never done something before, it's going to take them time. They're going to fall on their face, right? And so what did I do? Like I'm constantly trying to praise their efforts, like making them feel, even though they may have failed, right? There's always lessons to learn in every failure, but acknowledge and praise the efforts that they chose to take. That's what's going to help give them the fuel. So I was doing that from both the personal training department to the sales department. I got pulled into the office by the owner and he goes, I got to talk to you real quick. I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, oh, cool. Awesome. What's going on? Because I never go in with like a negative. I'm hoping when everyone says conversation, it's going to be positive until it's not. And he goes, I got to be honest with you. I've been getting a lot of feedback from a lot of people that you're a little too positive. I'm like, like, can you explain? Like, yeah, like you're just, because it blows my mind too. But I've been getting this from a lot of people. Like you are just too energetic and too positive for everybody. And I'm like, we're in a gym. Like, you think anyone wants to walk through the door with people like, hey, how's it going? You want to join? Like, where's the salesmanship? Where's the customer service? Like, where's the rapport that's so crucial and so important to maintain, and not just to build the membership base and a training clientele base, but like,
I mean, I work in the retail industry. If everyone who walked in the door, I just looked at them and I went, "So,
like, you brought me in here.
That person doesn't want to be here."
Like I said, when I jumped in, like my sales were really good, like just from being dropped in, just because like the love, like all my experience and understanding people and stuff like that. And I was trying my best to implement my strategies to other people. And I kind of felt like some of them were trying and some of them were like set in their ways, and it is what it is. But when I got pulled in that office saying I was too positive, I'm like, what do you want me to do? Do you want me to not do my job? Do you want me to be just like them and have the club continue to tank? Like, what do you want me to do?
Yeah.
You know, I just, to your point, getting a review that I was not expecting to come. I know yours was like months and then like this just came to me. I'm like, what do you want me to do?
Yeah.
You want me to take it down a notch? Because it's only going to detriment all the new people that have come in and the rapport, like the environment that's been built.
But sometimes that behavior can be infectious.
Yes.
Like if you have a negative attitude, that can be infectious in the workplace. If you have a positive attitude, that can be infectious in the workplace as well.
Absolutely.
And so with you, like that's what you're hoping for, is like you have that energy and that drive and that positivity. And if other people around you on staff pick up on that, like that's going to have positive outcomes across the board, you know, in sales or customer satisfaction, whatever it is. If every single person that is a customer walks into a store and all the employees are just, you know, doom and gloom the whole time, like people are going to stop showing up because they don't want to be around that.
Yeah.
And that's them taking charge of what they can control. I can go someplace else.
I know we got the closing remarks, so mine will be very short and sweet.
Go all the time you want,
dude. Like, I don't know how many people are still watching. Well, it was only 6, but
we got 2 on YouTube. So
8 right now.
I mean, at the end of the day, like the kind of the motto of this whole entire, you know, topic.
We had a good 15 to 20 steadily tonight.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, man, it's anyone who's watching, like, you are more capable than at the end of the day, you are far more capable than whatever situation you're in, regardless if you're at the top, if you're at the bottom, if you're in the middle, it doesn't matter. I don't care if it's like you're trying to get your health in order, if you're all the way over here, or if you're all the way, if you're close enough to it, trying to maintain it. Doesn't matter if it's in your health, your fitness, if it's in your job. Like, you can always learn more skills, you can always get in better shape, you can always do these things. But at the end of the day, what it really boils down to is, are you willing to pay the price for what it's going to take, regardless of how easy or how hard or how close or how far it is to whatever life you want to live? Everyone's starting point is going to be different. It's up to you to decide, are you willing to pay the price and do what it takes to get to where you want to be, yes or no? Because one thing I've learned is complaining about it, coming up with excuses, has never, ever, at least from my experience, my entire life, ever helped me to get further ahead in anything. It wasn't until I accepted the reality and figured out what I need to do and started doing it is when anything in my life has changed. You really have to look at yourself in the mirror and go, do I actually want what I'm feeling, what I want? Like, do I actually want this? Am I willing to do what it takes? You have to ask yourself that question, and the choice is yours.
Yeah. In my old career, I actually had a higher up manager 2 levels above me, where I came to them and I was like, hey, here's a problem. And they came back and they said, all right, what do you think we should do about it? And initially, my initial thought was, this person's pawning it off on me. It's like, no, you're a manager. I'm here making 45 grand a year. You're making 6 figures. Like, no, this should be, you should come up. You're getting paid to do this shit. I'm just letting you know that shit's wrong. But they were like, all right, what do you think we should do about it? And I'm like, well, and like I said, initially, why am I the one coming up with a solution?
It's funny how when you're in that
that's not what I'm paid for. Why am I coming up with that solution? And then I start
you are paid for that.
But
that's what we're going for.
But the thing I appreciated about that manager saying that was it caused a change in mentality.
I've been that manager.
I know you have. I know you have. Sometimes you are. I know. But
also
no,
that friend.
You're all absolutely that friend. You sit there and just poke with a stick.
Yeah, you are that way, and I appreciate that about you.
Yeah. The whole topic. Go ahead, Nate. But the whole topic was like, what do we want to do about it? What do you want to do about it? It's like, well, and you brought it up. It's like, as a friend, you're just like, yeah, no, absolutely. I understand what you're saying. Like,
but like initially when that manager said that to me, I'm like, well, I'm just letting you know there's a problem. You're in a position to actually do something.
Yeah.
There's only so much I can do about the problem, but they're like,
Jonathan's been in this corporate world.
Yeah. So that's exactly what they came with. Like,
never present a problem without a solution.
Yeah, that's exactly what this person came back with. Like, if you're going to come back to me with a problem, have an idea for a solution.
That's it.
And then, all right, here's your idea for a solution. All right, well, hey, I'll think about that, but I think maybe we should do this. And it's like that creates conversation. Otherwise, all you are doing is complaining.
Yeah.
Unless there is a problem, you're aware there's a problem, you may not be exactly sure how to handle the problem or what to do about it, so you seek out someone who might have the answer.
I think then when you're having that conversation, you go to that person who is in a position of authority.
Yeah.
You have to go to that person and go, hey, here's the problem I'm having. I'm not sure how much I can have an impact on this. Yeah. There's only so much I can do.
Now you're talking about communication.
Yep. But like, here's the problem. I have an issue with a coworker. Like, there's only so much I can do. I can't sit there and just completely change who I am as a person. Like, that would be unreasonable.
There's that fine line of an employee coming to you as a boss, right? Whether you keep coming with solutions. Hey, we should do this. We should do this. We should do that. Versus the other side of it, it's like, I have a problem with this. We're doing this wrong. We're doing this wrong. It's like, what's the solution? There is that open dialogue at that point. If you think you know better, you're like that new employee, or you've been there for a year, and like that you're going to a person that's been there for 10 years, and you're just like, we should do this. And you're like, well, here's the reason we don't do that, because we've done that. Now
we tried it before you started,
which is not always right or wrong, but it's like there is that dialogue there, right? And that's where I think what Jonathan was saying to that, and you experienced that, is that you can come with a problem, and some people just come with problems and they just okay, what do you think we should do about it? And you're like, that's your job.
Well, and I think sometimes, like, I've had times in my careers over the years where I've had issues with other people or things that are going on, and I've done what I can to help address that and try and make the situation better.
Mm.
And all of a sudden it gets to the point where I'm out of ideas. I've done what I think I can do to fix the situation. I need someone else's input. Like, all right, I've done this. I've taken steps. I don't know what else to do. You're in a position of authority. Like, do you have any insight? Like, we can have a conversation where it's just the two of us. You don't necessarily have to go to that other person and be like, hey, you know, Nate said you did this, and you know, he said, you know, you treat him like a piece of shit. It's like I'm going to do what I can, but sometimes there gets to a point where I can only do what I can do, and I need someone else to either give me another idea of something, or someone in a position of authority be like, all right, we need to squash this. This is an issue. It's having a negative impact.
Sure.
Like, we need to have a conversation about what's going on. And it was amazing when I had, 2 months ago, when I had my review at work. Yeah, I actually went into it thinking, like, there was going to be a lot of positives, and that's when, like, there were some negatives
Held up from 6 months ago,
and I was like, oh, so these people, the reason they've been treating me negatively is because I did this. None of them said that to me. You didn't say it to me previously. You waited until now to tell me about this. And so I was like, all right, if something like this happens, tell me so I can address it. That's what I can do. Like, the whole topic was, what can we do about it? If you don't tell me there's a problem, I can't do anything about it. If you do tell me, like, all right, cool, I will make steps. And so when it was initially brought to me, like, all right, this is the issue some people are having with you, I was like, oh, okay. None of them said that. It was never brought to me before. I will be, I will be aware of that going forward. And so immediately I started making changes because of what had been addressed to me. And it was funny. Within a week, I had 2 coworkers say something. One was accidental, one was intentional. They said something that was incorrect. And immediately, both of them looked at me thinking I was going to jump in and correct them. Because that was one of the issues. Stop it.
Okay.
That was one of the issues that they had.
Love you to death, brother.
But that was one of the issues they had. And so I adjusted that behavior.
You learned.
But both times they immediately looked over at me and I didn't say anything. And one of the people, after the customer had left, I was like, hey, when you said that one thing, you immediately turned and looked at me. Why? They're like, because I realized I said something that was wrong, and I looked at you waiting for you to correct me. And I was like, yeah, but I didn't.
You could have corrected yourself, right?
And they did.
Yeah.
I
love that.
And I was like, but I didn't. Like, okay, this has been brought to my attention.
I love that leadership quality when sometimes they know, and then you're just like, go on. And then they do it. They fix the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay.
Well, and like you've talked about it before where you've been on a lunch break in your old career.
Same thing.
And like people would text you, there's a problem.
Call.
They would call you and you wouldn't answer.
And then I go to voicemail and I call back within 5 minutes. They're like, I figured it out. I'm like, oh, did you? Oh, okay.
But yeah, I mean,
sorry, I'm not your answer book. Yeah, you actually know the answer and you had to think for yourself.
Well, and I think there's a lot of people out there that have just gotten accustomed to, I have a problem, I'm going to go to someone else for the solution instead of figuring it out for themselves. And so I think what is helpful is when people actually sit there and go, no, I'm not going to come up with a solution for your problem for you. You need to figure it out. If you actually take the effort, like Mike was talking about, if you actually take the effort to try and correct the situation or fix the problem, but then you get stuck or you can't get any further, and then you need me, great. Then I will help you out. But don't just sit there and say, hey, I got a problem with this. Okay. And they just look at you like, well, what are you going to do about it? No, what are you going to do about it?
Yeah.
Like, you have to be willing to, if there's an issue, you have to be willing to take some steps. But you also have to realize how much you can control. When there are certain issues or certain problems that are beyond your control, you can either go to someone who has power to make a change. If it's so big of an issue that there's no one that directly can impact that change, you need to decide, like, all right, how much am I going to let this impact me? Like, if there's a bigger issue, like, I can go to my boss with an issue in our department. If the issue is something higher up in the company, like, I can't necessarily go to the CEO of that company.
No.
Because I'm way down here, they're way up here. They have a bunch of other shit to worry about. Like when I worked at AEP, like, Fortune 200 company.
Different parameters, man.
Yeah, I can't sit there and go to the CEO with a problem. Like, I need to figure out what I can do. But at some point, I need to realize there's only so much I can do.
Mm-hmm.
If the people that are even above me aren't even able to fix the problem, then I need to readjust how much that problem has an impact on me. Because I think there are a lot of times where we get too bogged down with things beyond our control, and it becomes a detriment. It bogs us down, and it has too much of a negative impact.
It's a roadblock, man.
And we start, and that's one of those things where we're so focused more on secondary and tertiary issues that we don't sit there and realize, no, I need to just take care of what I can control. Let the other stuff work itself out. If I control this, if all the rest of it goes to shit, this is locked down.
Yeah.
I got this part.
You got to communicate. It always comes back to that, right? You can let problems fester. You can let issues get bigger than they should be. It's not a good place to be. Your personal relationships, we talked about a lot tonight, and I commented on some of the things with you guys saying you take it back to yourself, make sure you're taken care of in a sense, and you focus on yourself before the other people. You cut the relationships off if you need to. You quit a job or you walk away. I don't want to say quit, but you walk away from a employment opportunity because it doesn't fit. No matter if you're the employee or the employer, it's about having those communications. You were talking about the reviews and stuff like that. Get away from the formalities of it. It's to what Mike originally said on that the topic was everyday life, is you have to deal with it as everyday life. If you let things build, it's gonna get bad most of the time, right? So if you don't communicate, right? You talk about what you're talking about, Nate, and it's just with your employer. Yeah, you can't go to the CEO all the time, but you also don't want to fester. You got to walk that fine line because it's your job, man. This is the food on the table. This is your roof over your head type stuff. But I think what's more, what we talked about here tonight was the big thing is that you don't want things to build. Mm-hmm. The only way to do that is just to bring it up. You don't have to come with problems. You just have to have that relationship. You have to have that open line of communication. You want to know sometimes when someone is coming to you whether you're the boss, whether you're the employee, if you are the significant other that doesn't have a problem, but the other one does, if you have the problem, the other one doesn't know it's a problem, the only way you can actually move forward is a great example what you said, Nate, about that review thing is why would you wait 6 months? You brought up even the counselor thing with your job. When you get to a relationship counselor, a marriage counselor, or whatever it might be,
It was anger management.
When you get to that level, it has gotten to a level that you are now addressing it, because all of these things that were before that were never addressed. Most likely, mediating. You want to mediate that situation. All of these things. I'm not great at it. I feel like I'm getting better at it, but go back 10, 20 years ago, you know what I mean? Through my life, I wasn't great at it. I feel like I've always over communicated, but sometimes I've held back. When you hold back your feelings, when you hold back your resentment, when you hold back your feelings, it turns into resentment. And all of a sudden now you might be beyond your own success in that moment, because you held on to your feeling, your thoughts. I am now in this situation as what are you going to do about it, right? What are we going to do about this? I change it to what are we going to do about this? There's always this we. You focus on yourself. I'm a big proponent of that too. Is that you have to look at yourself in the mirror, that you will make yourself happy so you can build. If you can't be happy yourself, you can't be a happy person or be a positive influence to the people around you. But when it's a reciprocal thing, it's always going around, right? It's going in and out and all that stuff. Is that if you don't communicate that stuff, and if you cut it off too early, you're always looking at the grass is always greener. That's wrong in my opinion. But if you can get to that point where you're going to grow with that person, you're going to grow with that job, you're going to grow with whatever you're doing. It's truly you're learning, they're learning, and you listen. But I think more importantly, you actually communicate. You're the one that starts the conversation. As hairy as that might be, as scary as that might be, you don't want to jeopardize your job. You're in a relationship that's really steady and good, but things aren't going well right now. Why do we not say anything? Because you don't want to upset the situation.
Because you're worried things will get worse.
Yeah. But more often than not, it gets worse if you don't bring it up. You don't fucking say anything. So you start the conversation or you say, hey, you're acting differently. And I'm going to take away from the personal side, but you're at work and it's like, coming into work is not the same thing. You're not your boss, your coworkers aren't reacting to you the same way as you thought. And all of a sudden you're alone. You're like, well, fuck it. I'm going to be myself. I'm going to do my thing, do all that stuff. It's like, unless you're self-employed or you're the boss,
yeah, I mean,
you are isolating.
Yeah.
If you're in a relationship and you're like, you know what, they're not talking, I'm not going to talk. You're like, all right, the isolation is getting further and further apart. These islands are drifting at this point. What are we going to do about it? Take action. Take action to the point that you feel comfortable. Don't just go full blow and just start firing the cannons and just be like, fuck you. Like you pissed me off because, you were mad at me about whatever it might be. I didn't put my glass in the dishwasher. Little things. The little things build up.
Oh yeah.
Because all of a sudden it's like, they should bring it up. They should tell me. They take the first step. What are we going to do about this? Take action.
Yeah.
Mike, you want to say something? Every time, man. I do my closing remarks. I want to hear it.
Premeditated expectation. No, I'm sorry. Unspoken expectations or premeditated resentments.
Ooh.
Think about that every time you get frustrated, you get angry, and you're not communicating about it. Unspoken expectations or premeditated resentments, because that's ultimately what it turns into.
If you care about the relationship, if you care about your job, if you care about the career, you care about anything that you're doing with your waking moments, show it. And you don't always, again, have to come into it with your guns ablazing.
Sure, you don't have to. You shouldn't, and it shouldn't be.
Like you said earlier, Mike, is like what happens when you're angry about. All I thought about was like road rage, right? I still honk my horn when they're just sitting there at a stoplight, and I'm like, well, I'm gonna get shot now, because that's the world we live in. But I'm still gonna do it. You know what I mean? Like I'm just gonna be like, hopefully 9 times out of 10, I'm not like if they start like getting out of their car, I'm just gonna be like, yeah, I'm out of here. Hit the gas and
drive away.
If I hit them, that's fine. But you gotta express yourself to a point that we get better as we get older and experienced. And I think that the worst situations, the worst outcomes of situations, is when you turtle up and you just stay to yourself, because that sucks. Because that's when you are already preempting the fact that you are going to be alone again.
You are letting everything happen to you at that point instead of taking any action
Absolutely.
whatsoever.
Because you're just like, oh, this sucks. I'm just going to go back here, and I'm gonna like not going to say anything, and I'm gonna not let anyone talk to me. Oh, did you fix the problem? Oh, you didn't. Surprise, surprise.
Mm-hmm.
Cheers, boys.
Cool.
Cheers.
Mike, thanks.
Thank you, guys.